following is a presentation of WGN Sports.
It makes no difference how you say it or where you come from. One thing is for sure, Sammy Sosa has become baseball's favorite son. Sammy's 59th wasn't enough for the Cubs yesterday, but it did get everyone talking record again. Hopefully he can dial up a win with another today. Cubs and Brewers next. Young and old filing into Wrigley Field in Chicago on a beautiful sun-splashed afternoon. And it is game 2 of a 3-game series between the Milwaukee Brewers and the Chicago Cubs. Hi, everybody. I'm Wayne Larrabee along with Steve Stone. Great to have you with us for Cubs baseball. Every game important for the Cubs in the wild card race. And as 3 teams pound down the stretch, no one has been able to break away from the pack.
Everybody left the ballpark yesterday mighty disappointed, but they looked north of the border, and lo and behold, it was the Expos beating the Mets. That means the Cubs and Mets still tied with the Giants 2.5 back, and as you can see by their September records, no team really good enough to pull away, and that makes for a very exciting race. And one of the reasons why it's exciting, Wayne, is the pitching staff.
Well, absolutely, and starting pitching always important, but in the Cubs case, it's who starts that often makes a big difference.
As you can see with Wood and Tapani, the Cubs have been very good. The rest of the staff, they've been under 500. Unfortunately, Kerry Wood probably won't be of much value the rest of the way. We hope he's going to be back. So the pressure falls on Kevin Tapani, Steve Traxel, Mark Clark, and today it's Mike Morgan, who has to pitch a big game with the wind blowing out.
Now take a look at Mike Morgan. He's been pretty good over his career here at Wrigley Field. Matter of fact, had arguably his best season ever as a pro here at Wrigley Field one year.
You have to be careful early in the game with Mike Morgan because sinkers turns into line drives. And with the wind blowing out, line drives go out of the ballpark. So if Morgan can keep the sinker down, throw a lot of ground balls, deal with Fernando Vina at the top of the lineup, he can throw a good game today.
All right, the Cubs and Brewers are coming up next.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN. Brought to you by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. The new Dodge. From cars to minivans to trucks, it's about change. The new Dodge. The Discover Card, the card that pays you back with a cashback bonus award. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. Pepsi, Generation Next. ComEd, the official electric company of the Chicago Cubs. ComEd, what do you do with your power? And by Southwest Airlines, offering low fares and frequent flights. Southwest Airlines, the official airline of the Chicago Cubs.
On the next episode of Nightman, the fight between good and evil, justice and tyranny, life and death. The battle may never be the same.
You are dead.
Next, Nightman.
Sunday night at 10:30 on WGN.
Dear Mom and Dad, my new Escort's a great attitude adjustment. So much equipment, so little money. Love all the new standard features. And saving $2,000 over Cavalier's great now that I'm on my own. Plus, my Escort's no-charge sport package with a spoiler, alloy wheels, and more really fits my style. Wish you were here. Love, Samantha.
New attitude, more equipment, less money. Ford Escort. Just and out, 0-9 financing plus $1,000 cash during Ford's factory authorized clearance. Visit your local Ford store today.
America is a nation of drivers. We have 100 million cars and 4 million miles of hungry highway. We created long weekends just so we'd have more time to drive. So now, for the national good, NTB National Tire and Battery is having a sale. Come on by. We'll put the wind back in your hair in no time. NTB National Tire and Battery. We're everything you want, nothing like you'd expect.
Save big on select Michelin, Bridgestone, and Falcon tires, or BF Goodrich Plus tires for as little as $19.99.
The ultimate Derek Jeter dream day. First, you call a girl. Tell her that you're preparing a perfect candlelight dinner for her. I throw in some R&B. I can't cook, so order some food. Tell them to give me the works and put it on my Discover card. Splash on a little cologne, throw on your apron. The Discover card cashback bonus is the icing on the cake. What else would she want to do but to watch highlights of us winning the World Series in 1996?
It pays to Discover. To apply, call 1-800-IT-PAYS-2. Accepted where you see the Novus sign.
It is a sun-splashed afternoon here at Wrigley Field in Chicago as the Cubs get set to take on the Milwaukee Brewers. And I tell you, always a celebration here at the ballpark, but before the game, a special celebration. This is 96 years young Carmela Hartigan on her birthday. How about that? That's all right. Couldn't ask for a better afternoon for baseball. Let's take a look at the lineups. The Milwaukee Brewers and manager Phil Gardner. Vina leading off, and he's the guy you've got to control at the top of the order. Yesterday, 3 for 4, 3 runs scored, helped to trigger that 13-run explosion by the Brewers. Loretta and Nielsen. Then Cirillo, Burnitz, and Grissom. Through the middle of the order, Burnitz has more RBIs than any other left-handed hitter in the National League this season. Jenkins, Hughes back behind the plate, and Roque on the mound. A young left-hander for the Brewers here this afternoon.
And the Pepsi defense for Jim Riggleman and the Cubs. Hill, Johnson, and Sosa left to right. Gaiety, Hernandez, Morandini, and Grace in the infield. And a familiar battery of Scott Service and Mike Morgan going to the mound in this his 4th Cubs start.
And the Chicago Cubs take the field.
And there's a look at Mike Morgan. 0-1, 6.75 ERA, 18 hits and 14 2/3 innings. A lot of the damage against Morgan has been done early. So if he can keep the sinker down, especially the first time through the order, he should be in pretty good shape.
Let me tell you something. If Norman Rockwell was with us, he would put a paintbrush to that subject right there. Beautiful day on the lakefront of Chicago. The Cubs have not had the easiest of times against this Milwaukee team. Matter of fact, Milwaukee's piled up 7.6 runs per game, Stoney.
Well, the Cubs have hit their pitching staff, but unfortunately the Brewers have decimated the Cubs pitching staff. Now, the Cubs have out-homered them, but the Brewers have out-doubled them. But look at the ERAs combined, so neither team has thrown particularly well against the other.
Sammy Sosa, 1 homer away from joining a most exclusive club. Only 3 men in Major League Baseball history have hit 60 or more home runs, and Sammy is 1 away from that total.
He's facing a young left-hander who spent 6 years in the minor leagues, 5 of them in A-ball, before coming over from the Mets organization. That's Rafael Roque. He's not a hard thrower. The wind is blowing out today. It's 86 degrees at game time, so very warm here in Chicago. The wind out of the west at 8 miles an hour, and it's not that much of a factor, but what little wind there is today is blowing out.
This was a hitter's paradise yesterday, and another big crowd on hand here today. Better than 37,000 yesterday, and we expect as many here today for this late afternoon game.
I think that before it's all said and done, there'll be more people here today than yesterday. Career-wise, Mike Morgan has been pretty good against the Brewers. However, there are very few of the Brewers that he's used to. He's 7-6 lifetime, an ERA of 4.34 in 14 games. And the one man in this lineup that's really hurt him is Jeremy Burnitz. But then again, he's hurt a lot of the right-hand pitchers this year. Is Burnitz. Not much to speak of with the average, but he has been a power machine.
The arbiters for today's game: Jerry Crawford behind the plate, Tom Hallion at first, Bob Davidson at second, and Brian Gorman over at third. Leading it off, Fernando Vina, the leadoff man at .310 with 7 homers and 39 runs batted in. Throw on 34 doubles and 7 triples. He also has been hit by a pitch about 25 times this year. Second in the majors, and he looks at a first pitch strike.
Keep the ball away from the inside part of the plate with Vina, because a lot like Biggio, a lot like Kendall, they just put that lead elbow out, get hit, and yesterday that keyed the first Milwaukee rally.
The 0-1 pitch is line foul down the third base side. 86 degrees. Gentle breeze out of the west, as Stoney mentioned, at 8 miles per hour. Nonetheless, I would say the conditions here are pretty good for scoring, I would guess.
It's an ideal day, and it is a hitter's day. Let's hope it's a better hitter's day for the Cubs than the Brewers.
The 0-2 from Morgan misses outside. 1 ball to 2 strikes. Yesterday, boy, I'll tell you something. What a 3 hours and 45-minute game as you get a look at what Peña's done here in the month of September. These two teams combined for 24 runs on 30 hits. There were 4 home runs in the game, 3 by the Cubs. The 1-2 chopped on the ground to Grace. 1 away. One out for Mark Loretta, 321 hitter with 5 homers, 47 knocked in, 26 doubles and no triples. Loretta at shortstop today, in place of Jose Valentin, who has been struggling of late. Mike Morgan making his 4th start since being acquired by the Cubs, and he delivers a strike on the outside corner. Morgan started 17 games for the Twins earlier this year. Sinker in the dirt, 1-1. The skipper, Jim Riggleman. Got the shades going for him. I hope he's seeing this through rose-colored glasses. This pitch fouled back, and it's 1-2.
It was really at the top yesterday when they did most of the damage. The first 4 hitters in the lineup had 9 hits. And the number 5 hitter, Jeremy Burnitz, hit a 3-run homer.
Steve Traxel will be on the mound tomorrow for the Chicago Cubs in the windup of this series. The 1-2 delivery. Just missed a little bit outside. And the count is 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Loretta a pretty tough hitter because he uses the whole field. And although he will pull the ball, the Cubs shade him to right and right center field. They think he'll go the opposite way. That's what he does most of the time.
To the left side. Backhanded by Hernandez. Nice pick by Grace. 2 men down.
I think it's a good sign for Mike Morgan that he's thrown to 2 hitters and he's gotten 2 ground balls. That's usually the signal that the sinker's working and that he's thrown the ball pretty well. Good play by Jose Hernandez as he ranges to his right, has to plant the back foot and hurry, and gets it across just in time to nip Loretta.
2 out, nobody on for Dave Nielsen. Nielsen started behind the plate for the Brewers yesterday. His first start at catcher. He got a strong arm from the outfield. They figured maybe he can make the throw from home plate to second base. There's Kerry Wood enjoying a libation. Boy, they're going to miss him down the stretch, at least for however long it's going to take before he's able to throw again. Sharply hit on the ground. Yes, 3 ground ball outs for Mike Morgan. 1, 2, 3 go the Brew Crew in the first. Cubs are coming up. No score.
Ever wonder where all those SUVs come from? Almost without exception, from people who also put their name on cars. One exception, Jimmy from GMC, the company that sold trucks exclusively for almost a century. Jimmy offers a long list of luxury amenities and also delivers the capability and versatility of an authentic truck.
Get up to $2,500 cash back or get $3,000 in average finance savings with low 0.9% APR GMAC financing. See your Chicagoland and Northern Indiana GMC dealer today, the truck professionals.
Here we are in this simple, majestic setting. None of the usual interruptions, nobody around to distract us from introducing AT&T One Rate Plus. Now, the key point, the thing to remember, is that every call you make from home with One Rate Plus, every call, day and night, 10 cents a minute.
Did you say 10 cents a minute, dude?
How do they find me?
AT&T One Rate Plus, 10 cents a minute, anytime. Call 1-800-4-1-RATE to enroll.
So, I read an article that says they think about it every 8 seconds.
I wouldn't doubt it. It seems like the only thing Dave ever wanted.
They have one-track minds. It must be something biological or genetic.
Men, they're all the same.
Hey. You read my mind.
Looking south to the Chicago skyline from Wrigley Field on the north side. Actually, this shot coming from the scoreboard over center field bleachers. A Pepsi starting lineup for Jim Riggleman and the Cubs. Lance Johnson at center field. Jose Hernandez at short. Grace at first. Then Sosa, Hill, and Gaetti through the middle. Morandini, Service, and Morgan and a 5-game hitting streak for Glenn Allen Hill, who has picked up the slack in left field for the injured Henry Rodriguez.
And the defense for Scrap Iron, Phil Garner, and the Milwaukee Brewers, Jenkins, Grissom, and Burnett's left to right, Cirillo, Loretta, Vigna, and Nielsen in the infield. And a battery of Bobby Hughes and Rafael Roque, looking for his 5th win, and this is 7th start. And an oddity in the career of this young man, he seems to be getting better as he moves up in class. It took him 5 years to get out of A-ball. He came over as a 6-year minor league free agent from the New York Mets organization. He didn't throw the ball real well in Class A. In Double-A, he was struggling. In Triple-A, he started to throw the ball pretty well, but not great. And in the major leagues, he's thrown it better than he's thrown it anywhere else.
Are you dumbfounded by that climb?
It's kind of a weird transition for the young man who finds himself with a 4-1 record for a losing team.
Here's Lance Johnson leading it off for the Cubs in the bottom of the 1st inning. Looks at a pitch down low for ball 1. Lance got the average up to 263 now. 5 doubles, 3 triples, 17 knocked in. And the 1-0 delivery. Chops it on the right side. On the outfield grass, Vigna, nice play.
Well, there's a good effort by Fernando Vigna. That ball looked like it was ticketed for right field. Good range to his left. Then the 360 spin, and he got it there just in time. Back on the outfield grass. Great effort, perfect throw, and they cut down Lance by a step.
Little pirouette move and delivers the throw right on the money. 1 out, nobody on for Jose Hernandez. There's the average of 261 with the 21 homers, 17 knocked in, also 22 doubles and 7 triples. Jose's been in a bit of a slump of late. He looks at ball 1 outside from this left-hander. One ball, 1 strike.
Okay, is not overpowering. Doesn't really have one pitch that jumps out at you. He throws a little slider. He has a straight change and a less than overpowering fastball, but he is around the plate quite a bit.
That's up high, 2 balls and 1 strike. Milwaukee people were saying the key for him is to pitch ahead of the count. Well, that's the key for a lot of pitchers, but especially for this youngster who, as you mentioned, has to spot his stuff.
If you're not going to strike out a lot of hitters, then you can't really afford a lot of 2-0 and 3-1 counts. Now he does have a 3-1 count. And Jose looking for something he can drive, and he's looking for home run number 22.
Here's the pitch. Fouled it back. Looked like he got a pitch he liked and could handle. Roque is 6'4" and 186 pounds from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic.
Last time out, he walked 5 against Pittsburgh.
The payoff to Jose. And he protects the plate, stays alive, lifts it foul down the right field line.
We'll take a look into Bobby Hughes and find out just exactly what he wants on this 3-2 count. And it's a fastball in.
The payoff again. Missed his spot and got it outside, and Jose again spoils it to continue this at bat at full count. Well, it's a festival at Wrigley Field every day, and even just outside Wrigley Field where that shot came from. This is about the 4th time Jose Hernandez has fouled off a delivery on 3-2.
Okay, good sized left-hander at 6'4". He's knocking at the door at 190 pounds, and he's out of the Dominican Republic.
The payoff. They'll do it again. I tell you. Well, at least Jose went to the first base line with that one, because your car is stationed right behind the stands on the 3rd base side.
Right. He can foul as many as he wants over to that side.
3 balls, 2 strikes. 1 out, nobody on. And called strike 3. So a long at bat ends in a strikeout of Jose Hernandez. 2 men down.
This is a surprise to Jose. It's the off-speed breaking ball, and it's right there. From the Southwest Plainview camera, we'll take a look at a good effort by the young man. He splits the middle of the plate and gets the call 3rd.
Mark Grace, the hitter, at .315, 15 homers and 81 runs batted in, 34 doubles, even 3 triples. And today, a new motorcycle for Mark Grace delivered to the ballpark. Well, look at that. How about that speedometer? I guess when he hits E, he's going too fast. Loretta in time to retire Grace, and both sides go 1-2-3 in the first. So unlike yesterday's fireworks, a scoreless duel as we go to the second.
Oh my gosh, like last night, did you notice how angry Sean was? I know, he was like totally spazzing out. I don't know what his problem was. Well, anyway, he thought that Jeremy said that he liked me, so we started like getting all jealous and stuff. And then Sarah, Jessica, and Michelle came up, and they were like, yeah, Jordan's flirting with Jeremy. And I was like, oh yeah, whatever. Anyways, but I was like all freaked out that he was like gonna dump me or something, so I went up to him and I was like, no, chill out, it wasn't flirting, blah, blah, blah. He was like, okay, I believe you, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, did you see what Molly was wearing today? Like,
you are now free to move about the country.
It was like cool in the
In Denton, Texas, a lot of folks who work on their cars go to AutoZone because they know they're going to find quality parts, low prices, great selection, and good people like Tom Robinson. You see, Tom's the kind of guy who really likes to help folks out. And since he's been around cars most all his life, he knows his parts, too. Oh, sure, there are other parts stores in town, but when it comes to getting the right part, the right price, and good advice from folks like Tom, there's just no place better than AutoZone.
This is a Ford factory authorized clearance like no other. For the first time ever, get 0-9 financing plus $750 to $1,000 cash on select models. That's right, you get both. 0-9 financing plus $750 cash on all Tauruses. 0-9 plus $1,000 cash on all ZX2s, Escorts and Escort wagons, Contours and Rangers. You get both 0-9 financing plus $750 to $1,000 cash back. But you gotta hurry. It's Ford's factory authorized clearance. Get to your local Ford store today.
Great day for a sail on the lakefront. Lake Michigan, bordering Chicago's east side. Cubs and Brewers scoreless as we go to the top of the second. Jeff Cirillo, Jeremy Burnitz, and Marquise Grissom to face Mike Morgan. Earlier today, Houston got by St. Louis 3-2. Cincinnati shut out Arizona 3-0.
Mark McGwire did not hit a home run in that. Randy Johnson did start. And once again, they win a game in which Johnson starts. And as you can see, the Astros, not intent on losing anytime soon, have dominated the home portion of their schedule. They have the best record in the National League.
The American League, the White Sox won again, Stoney. They're having a great second half of the season. 6-4 over Cleveland in Cleveland today. Jeff Cirillo leading it off. 328, 12 homers, 62 knocked in. The White Sox are putting together their second half in utter obscurity.
Well, when you turn it on a little too late.
Yep.
That's what happens.
Yeah, they've got a young team, developing group. Chopped it foul at the plate. Morgan out in front of Cirillo now. No balls and 2 strikes.
It probably bodes well for the future. Unfortunately, this was a year that, with the pitching problems that Cleveland had, they probably could have been had this year. But obviously, the White Sox turned it on a little too late.
No balls and 2 strikes to count. 1-2. Rod Beck piling up the saves. Coming up on 50. Here's the 1-2. Swing and a miss. Snuck the fastball on the inside corner. First strikeout for Mike Morgan. 1 away.
Morgan wants to get it inside. Good movement on this pitch. And it just dives low and in. And from the Southwest Airlines Plainview camera, we'll take a look at strike 3, the first strikeout of the day. Yesterday, Jeremy Burnitz with a 3-run homer. Part of a 6-run third inning. And that was home run number 34. Gives him 116 driven in. And no left-hander in our league has driven in more.
1 ball, no strikes, and the pitch. Got a pitch he liked there and just missed it. Fouled it back against the screen. We're focused in, of course, here on the wild card race, but the race for the best record in the National League has a 3-horse team fighting down the stretch for it. Take a look at Houston winning today, 96-53. San Diego 93-55. Atlanta 94-54. And the jostling for playoff positioning going on in the National League.
And we will be taking a look at those Padres coming up when the Brewers leave town.
Got a 4-game stretch out there. 2 balls and 2 strikes now on Jeremy Burnitz.
Jeremy Burnitz is the one guy in this lineup that's really hurt Mike Morgan. Most of these guys haven't seen him.
Let's see what Mo does here. The 2-2. Smacked into right center field, and this one's going to get to the wall. Burnitz around first, heading to second base, and he'll pull in with a double. Jeremy Burnitz, his 26th double of the season. So 1-out double has Burnitz in scoring position.
Morgan's always had trouble with Burnitz, and this one out away from him is pulled into the gap. Goes all the way to the ivy. And he winds up in scoring position with only 1 out.
Marquise Grissom, the center fielder, hitting .268 this season. 8 homers, 57 knocked in, also 26 doubles and a triple. No balls and 1 strike.
To send along birthday greetings to Bob Ryan in Jacksonville, Illinois. His son, Father Ryan, from Maryville Academy at the ball game today.
Father Ryan sent you a little gift too, didn't he?
Sent up some fine smoking material for me.
Nasty having you got. 1 ball, 1 strike. One thing it does do, it keeps the mosquitoes away.
It does indeed, and the fact is that I am smoking them.
Yeah. 1-1 the count. That's Burnitz at second base. 1 out. Top of the second inning. No score. Breaking pitch misses away. 2-1.
Marquise Grissom came up with Montreal, and like so many of their great players, he moved away to free agency, and he's made the rounds since then.
Here's the 2-1. 3 balls and 1 strike. Blauser, big hit yesterday in that ball game, a pinch hitting role.
Jeff Blauser knows that that is going to be his role probably from here on in. He came through with a triple yesterday.
The 3-1. Changed speeds out, had him way out in front.
With runners in scoring position, Marquise Grissom has been awfully good. It looks to me after throwing one 3-1 slider, you might think about throwing another one. You've got first base open.
And a full count. Misses low. Ball 4. So it's the first walk of the ball game issued by Mike Morgan. Now runners at first and second and 1 out. And it brings up the left fielder Jeff Jenkins.
Last time out, Morgan walked 6 in 6 innings against St. Louis. He only gave up 3 hits and only 2 runs, but that was a tightrope act. I don't think he wants to test that again, and I think the control had best be a little bit better against a team that's really hurt the Cubs offensively this year.
Always a good day to bring the kids to Wrigley Field. This is one of the all-time ballparks for that kind of endeavor. 1 ball, no strikes to Jeff Jenkins. Morgan in his career, Steve, always has had good control, averaging only 3 walks for every 9 innings of work over the course of his career. But as you mentioned, last time out and at times here today now, looks like he struggled a little bit with finding the plate. Now it's 2 balls and no strikes on Jenkins.
Well, the Cubs knew when they got Mike Morgan that he had been on the disabled list for the better part of 2 months. And it's really difficult to miss 2 months in the middle of a season and come back with pinpoint control. And that's what he's been trying to do since putting on a Cub uniform.
And as you mentioned, that 11 walks in 14 2/3 innings in his 3 starts prior to this one. And that's very high considering the track record of Mike Morgan over the years.
Jenkins doesn't have great speed. So if he hits the ball on the ground, and Morgan does throw a lot of grounders, it could easily be 2.
And the infield poised to get 2. Bounding ball toward the middle. Hernandez had to wait for it. Now the throw to Grace in time. 6, Middle of the second inning at Wrigley Field, no score.
Preps Plus, your school, your sports, your way. Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. on WGN.
Ever wonder where all those SUVs come from? Almost without exception, from people who also put their name on cars. One exception, Jimmy from GMC, the company that sold trucks exclusively for almost a century. Jimmy offers a long list of luxury amenities and also delivers the capability and versatility of an authentic truck.
Get up to $2,500 cash back or get $3,000 in average finance savings with low 0.9% APR GMAC financing. See your Chicagoland and Northern Indiana GMC dealer today, the truck professionals.
Bud.
Wise.
Oh, boy. Bud.
Wise. Wise.
Louie,
What?
just say the line.
That's what I'm doing.
No, you're not. You're going wise.
These are my interpretations of the part.
This isn't Shakespeare. You're replacing a stressed-out frog.
Hey, Frankie, you know what they say?
What?
There are no small parts, only small lizards.
Nobody says that.
I do. I say it all the time.
Bud.
Wise.
Bud.
Wise?
If a Cub player hits a homer today, write down the distance and player's name and send it to WGN. You could win tickets to any Southwest Airlines destination.
You got the captain.
Cool.
You're gonna love it.
Friends, beginning September 21st.
On our Discover card, payback playback today, we look back at Mike Morgan's last start and his history-making pitch to Big Mac. McGuire put Morgan and himself in the record books with his 61st home run, equaling Roger Maris' feat in 1961. And we all know what happened the next night. Mike Morgan serving up number 61, today's Discover card payback playback. And the man chasing Mike Morgan in the home run race, Sammy Sosa, steps to the plate. Sammy, 311, 59 homers, 142 runs batted in. He hit number 59 yesterday on the Sheffield Avenue.
The rookie has given up 5 home runs in 33 in the third inning.
1 ball, no strikes.
So that is a fairly high total for a young man who is not overpowering. Sammy just 3 behind Big Mac, who, if you missed it, did not hit a home run in St. Louis's 3-2 loss at Houston.
1 ball, no strikes. And it's 2-0. In that game at Houston, Randy Johnson won his 8th since going to the Astros. The 2-0 to Sosa. There's a strike. Sammy's brothers. Gentleman on the right certainly bears resemblance, doesn't he? The 2-1 to Sosa. Good pitch on the inside corner. The count even at 2-2.
Sammy has been a wrecking crew against the Brewers this year. You look at those numbers, 7 home runs already.
Okay, to his countryman Sosa. Slammed down the right field line, but foul. Sammy Sosa yesterday, as I mentioned, number 59, got a breaking ball up in the zone and drove it onto Sheffield Avenue. And those gentlemen broadcasting back to the Dominican who are happy. 2-2 delivery up high, and the count fills to 3-2. That youngster is praying that Sammy will hit a home run or something. Is right. Either that or he has a sinus infection. The payoff. Fouled it back. Sosa had a pitch he liked right there. Praying takes on many forms.
I told you can't be fun at the old ballpark. I thought he was hoping that Sammy would pick out a good pitch.
Here it is, 3-2. Ball 4. And the crowd, they're roaring its disapproval that Sosa did not get a chance to hit a home run. He walked. Scrap iron, I guess maybe a sigh of relief there. Sosa aboard with nobody out for Glenn Allen Hill.
Glenn Allen Hill has been terrific since putting on a Cub uniform, coming over on waivers from the Seattle Mariners. And the Cubs would like to get on top early here today. They've had trouble with the Brewers this year.
Sosa, the first base runner for the Cubs. He has 17 stolen bases on the campaign. Breaking ball in there for a strike to Glenn Allen Hill.
There are the Kennys from Nuts on Clark. And it's Carla's birthday today.
Well, happy birthday, Carla. To have some of those chocolate colors. Get you up high. 1 ball, 1 strike. They have they do raisins, they do nuts, chocolate covered raisins and nuts. Oh, just great stuff over there.
And chocolate covered prunes for Ernie.
Well, he wants to stay regular, you know. It's a good way to do it. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2-1 the count.
And this is where Roque will get in trouble. If his control deserts him, the Cubs will make him pay for it. He's not going to strike out a lot of hitters here today.
Glenn Allen, 5 homers in 36 games for the Cubs. The 2-1 to the right side, base hit. Sosa turns second. He's heading to third. The throw from Jeremy Burnett is not in time. Sosa slid under the tag of Jeff Cirillo.
Burnett has a real good arm, and I think that the Cubs might have gotten a break right there. The call by Brian Gorman. Cirillo thought he got the tag down in time. Phil Garner comes out to argue. Obviously, it's a judgment call, so you're not going to win this. Burnett has a good arm. The throw is right on the button. And now let's see. Sammy looks safe. That front leg got in ahead of the tag. Watch it again.
There was no doubt Sammy was going for it. Watch here as he makes the slide. The tag will come up high if we can see it. He's in.
Well, he was well on the bag. The foot was on the bag, and he tagged the knee.
So good call by the third base umpire, Brian Gorman, who was in excellent position to see that. As was our third base camera. Boy, this crew here at Wrigley Field, and under Arnie Harris's tutelage and direction, all the angles are covered in this quote-unquote peculiar ballpark. Runners at the corners. The Cubs pose their first threat of the afternoon, and Gary Gaetti at the plate, and he has been red hot since donning a Cubs uniform. There's a strike call. Gaetti, 22 games for the Cubs, 355, 7 doubles, 5 homers, 17 runs batted in. Sosa at third, Glenn Allen Hill at first. Fly ball into shallow left field. Matter of fact, the shortstop Loretta going back for it, called off by Jenkins. The left fielder Sosa bluffs a move to home and into second base. Heads up, Glenn Allen Hill. He'll take second on the throw down the line.
It's a heads-up base running play by Glenn Allen Hill. As soon as he saw this throw somewhat off target, he decided to head into second, and as you can see, Cirillo has some problems cutting it off, and it takes him away from the throw. There's no chance to get Glenn Allen Hill. So now Morandini comes in, and they're going to play back in the middle infield. They will concede the run on a ground ball.
Fouled it off his shin. Ooh, that hurts. Morandini at 301, 7 homers, 48 runs batted in. Slumping a bit of late. 21 for 108 over his last 30 games, but 2 for 5 in his last 2 games. There's Gary Gaetti. Boy, he's been hitting everything thrown at him for the most part.
In 1995, Mickey drove in 49 runs. He's poised at 48 right now.
Well, he can pass his career high with a single here. That would drive in 2 and give him 50 for the season. Now the catcher, Bobby Hughes, out to talk with Rafael Roque. Take a look at this. Runners on third and less than 2 out. He's had just an outstanding season, and not only with his numbers that we all talk about at the plate, but in the field, Steve, he has played as sound a second base as you could expect.
He just 5 errors all year long.
Here's the strike one pitch up the middle. Past Pena, base hit, 2-run score, and the Cubs lead 2-0. Mickey Morandini now career high, 50 runs batted in.
Mickey probably felt that Roque was going to try to get ahead of him early in the count, so he takes it right back up the middle. He gets the fastball he's looking for. Pena cannot knock it down, and so some heads-up base running on the part of Glenn Hill gets the Cubs a couple of runs. And Mickey Morandini with a career high.
Scott Service, the hitter, 17 hits in his last 51 at-bats. He's been spot playing against those left-handed pitchers and doing a pretty good job of it. His average up now to 223, and it hovered around the Mendoza line throughout most of the season. Morandini at the moment has given the Cubs the 2-0 lead. Rafael Roque, a pitch out there. They thought maybe Morandini would be off to the races to second base.
To send along congratulations to Doug Johnson and Ellen Lachlan. They're getting married today. Doug is from our marketing department, so we wish them the best of luck.
1-0 the count. When's the ceremony? They may be watching at the reception right now.
Quite possibly.
Could you imagine, though, a better place to have a reception than at Wrigley Field?
Today you'd have trouble finding the seats.
Mike Morgan staked to a 2-0 lead now here at the bottom of the second inning. Morgan on deck. The 1-0 to Service. High fly ball got under this one. Jenkins in left field shades his eyes and makes the catch. Morandini bluffs a move to second base, and the throw comes in. So 2 men down.
Morgan's been a pretty good hitter this year, so you can't take him for granted.
Mike 3 for 4 in his 3 starts for the Cubs at the plate. You know, it was fun to see yesterday was young Jason Maxwell. His first major league hit, a home run at Wrigley Field.
I'd say that had to be awfully exciting. Coming in the 4th inning, one he'll never forget.
Fly ball into left center field, kind of shallow. Grissom got a late start, and no one's going to get it. Morandini held at third, and Mike Morgan with a bloop single into shallow left center field. Grissom got a late start on that, Steve. He must not have seen it in the sun.
Well, I think early in the career of Marquise Grissom, he was an outstanding center fielder, and we've seen in this series that he's had his problems out there. And you're right, he gets a terrible jump, and he misses this ball by a mile. So runners at the corners, and still 2 out.
4th hit in the inning for the Cubs. And Lance Johnson to the plate. Johnson grounded out in the first. A fine play made by the second baseman Fernando Pena. The Brewers posed a threat in the top of this inning, but Jeff Jenkins grounded out into a 6-3 double play. The Brewers yet to score. The Cubs, meanwhile, have taken advantage of their opportunity for 2 runs. No balls and 1 strike on Lance Johnson. Johnson has hit safely in 10 of the last 11 games. Jeff Pentland telling me before the game, Johnson one of those locked in right now at the plate. Off-speed pitch, and he waves and misses at that one. 0-2. Morandini at third base. Mike Morgan on at first. Morgan now 4 for 5 at the plate. He's coming back to the Cubs. Down to the count. No balls and 2 strikes, and the pitch to Lance Johnson chops it to the left side. On the charge, the third baseman Cirillo, and the inning is over. But the Cubs pick up a couple of runs on 4 hits. They lead 2. The end of 2 at Wrigley Field. The Cubs have the advantage 2-0.
We went to Florida with a new Ford Explorer. I got my own window. Mom and Dad got plenty of room. Dad says we got all the best standard features. Plus, we saved a bunch on the XLT package. Mom says Explorer costs less money than Grand Cherokee. I said, great. More to spend on souvenirs.
Ford Explorer. Now get 0.9 financing or lease Explorer and skip your first month's payment. Get to Ford's factory authorized clearance at your local Ford store today.
Tommy? Yeah? Becky Swanson's big brother says monsters live under little kids' beds. Becky Swanson's brother's dumb. Besides, lights scare monsters away. Oh. Tommy? He says they live in closets, too.
These boys warded off countless monsters for 9 straight hours. ComEd, what do you do with your power?
Race is heating up. Step up to the plate and play the Pepsi Major League Baseball Home Run Countdown. Go to in-store Pepsi displays, fill out an entry form, and if you guess the 98 Home Run Champions total, you'll be entered to win a trip before to this year's World Series.
It's back. And this time, there's something new. Now there's a wind tunnel that's self-propelled. New self-propelled wind tunnel.
Steve and Allison, weeknights on WGN News at 9.
Wayne Larrabee, Steve Stone, welcome back to Wrigley Field in Chicago, where Mike Morgan has been staked to a 2-0 lead as we head to the top of the 3rd inning. Bobby Hughes, Rafael Roque, and then Fernando Bina at the top of the order. Full house on hand here today, and what a beautiful late summer afternoon it is.
And the Chicago Cubs announced today that the ball club will pay tribute to Sammy Sosa for his outstanding season during a pregame ceremony on Sunday, September 20th, prior to their 120 game against the Cincinnati Reds. And it has been just a banner year for Sammy Sosa. A lot of people have conceded the home run chase to Mark McGwire couldn't be farther from the truth. There's still a long way to go. And Sammy, with a long way to go in this game, only 3 homers back. McGwire did not homer today, and so maybe Sammy can close the gap.
The catcher Bobby Hughes leading it off for the Brewers. Looks at strike 1 called. Hughes at .232 with the 7 homers and 26 knocked in. Also 7 doubles and a couple of triples.
If you get it middle into this guy, he can hit it a long way.
And they want to stay away, and they do, and catch the outside corner. It's no balls and 2 strikes. The 0-2. Go outside again. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
In another game of note, San Francisco, who lost to Colorado last night in a 0-0 game as they head into the bottom of the 3rd at San Francisco.
Still 1 ball and 2 strikes on Bobby Hughes. Giants started the day 2.5 behind the Cubs and Mets in the wild card chase. And you know, Steve, their ability to stay in that race has really surprised a lot of us around baseball because of the fact their pitching wasn't considered to be that kind of caliber. Backhanded and through the wickets, basically. Jose Hernandez unable to come up with that one. Bobby Hughes is aboard. Hey, Cubs fans, tomorrow, September 13th, is Gracie the Swan Beanie Baby Day at Wrigley Field. First 10,000 children, 13 and under, attending the Cubs Brewers game at 1:20 p.m. will receive one. Get one at the game or look to the Chicago Tribune for your chance to win one of 100 Gracie the Swan Beanie Babies with a Cubs commemorative card featuring Mark Grace. Compliments of the Tribune. Turn to the Chicago Tribune beginning Sunday, September 13th for your chance to win. Sacrifice situation, and Roque pulled it back for ball 1.
Okay, with 2 sacrifices so far. This is just his 7th game, so you figure he's going to be laying it down. And there's a look at Doug Mansolino, who looks like the twin brother of Phil Garner. In fact, they could swap uniforms and you'd be hard pressed to figure out who's who.
1-0 delivery. That's a strike. 2-0 Cubs in the top of the 3rd inning. And the shadows beginning to creep into play here at Wrigley. As Arnie Harris might say, only the shadow knows. Or Stoney and I wouldn't remember that long-time radio show.
Lamont Cranston, are you kidding me?
There is the shadow. 1-1. And he bunts it foul. 1-2.
Okay is stabbing at the ball, and when you do that, it's awfully hard to get the bunt down. So hitting just 100, you would think that they'd have him bunt one more time. Bobby Hughes is a catcher, and if you bunt it to third base, there's no doubt Gaetti's going to cut down the lead man at second.
One ball, 2 strikes. And it's 2-2. Gaetti coming in from third. Grace charging from first. Morandini to cover first base. Jose Hernandez over to second. A shifting of the infield in this sacrifice situation. The defense trying to take the offensive intention away. That intention is to move the runner from first to second any way they can. There's the bunt. Gaetti looked to second, doesn't have a play, throws to Morandini covering first, so the sacrifice works effectively. A lot of confidence in Roque, Steve, bunting him a couple of times there with 2 strikes.
I think Gaetti's unhappy with himself because that would have been a foul ball, and he caught it in fair territory, but this ball was headed well to the foul side, and you see him pick it up early. He looks at second, and I don't think it's necessarily the confidence in Roque's ability to get the bunt down, Wayne. I think it's a lack of confidence in his ability to hit that allowed him to bunt, but he got a good bunt down and he moved the runner along, which was his intention. And now you move to the top of the order, and a couple of pretty good hitters in Vigna and Loretta.
Well, the glass is either half full or half empty, right? Vigna grounded to first baseman Mark Grace to start the ball game. Runner in scoring position for the Brewers. Vigna slaps it foul. Vigna 3 for 5, a couple of doubles, RBI, 3 runs scored yesterday. Who's cleaning up in baseball from Hoover? Well, on the road, they're doing a pretty good job, these guys right here. This man Vigna, third, make it 4th on the list.
John Olerud was not playing for the Mets last night. His wife was giving birth, so he went to join her, and the Mets lost a game north of the border in Montreal.
To Hernandez, bobbles it, can't find the handle. That'll be an error. Hughes stays at second base. Vigna aboard, 1 out.
This one just comes up and bites Jose. He's still got a chance if he can pick it up cleanly, but he's charged with his 13th error of the year. And now it opens the door with Loretta and Nielsen, unless you can get the double play ground ball. Morgan has had a good sinker today, and that usually means he's going to throw many more ground balls than fly balls.
5 ground ball outs recorded today by Mike Morgan and his defense. Loretta has grounded to 13 double plays this season. Pitch a little bit low for ball 1.
The big gap is in left center field. Lance is shallow in center. He's around toward right center. They give Loretta the left field line and left center as Glenn Allen Hill moves well over into left center now.
The 1-0 pitch up the middle. That's a base hit center field. Lance Johnson's throw cut off by Mark Grace, and they hold the runner at third. So the base is loaded with Brewers.
That ball was hit so hard that there was no thought of scoring Bobby Hughes. Doug Mansolino just held him up, and so now with the bases loaded and only 1 out, a double play would look awfully good off the bat of Nielsen, who has grounded into 12 of them this year.
Nielsen, a ground out and the first to Mickey Morandini. Nielsen has hit 6 homers in his last 10 games, so you have to be careful with this man. Strike on the outside corner for Mike Morgan.
When we saw this club earlier, Nielsen just wasn't generating any power at all. He had some physical problems. Lately, apparently feeling a whole lot better, and they're thinking about him as their everyday catcher. And that's next year. And with the bases loaded, he's been awfully tough.
Just missed inside. 1 ball, 1 strike, as you saw a moment ago. Nielsen has a couple of career grand slams, and has hit very well with the bases loaded. 1 out, bases juiced. 1 ball, 1 strike. This will get at least a run in and maybe more. Lance Johnson on the run, can't come up with it. 1 run scores. Here come 2 more. All the way to third base with a triple. Dave Nielsen, and the Brewers have a 3-2 lead.
RBIs 54, 55, and 56. And so one of the few fly balls Mike Morgan has given up comes back to cost him 3. As you can see, that fastball up and out over the plate. Johnson tries with everything he has before finally sliding into the wall. He might have hurt his knee on this one. Has some pretty good base running. Everybody scores. And the Cubs trailing 3-2. So the air opened the door. And Nielsen and the Brewers doing what they've done against the Cubs all year, storming right through.
And here's Jeff Cirillo, strikeout victim to start the 2nd inning. 0 for 1 today. Nielsen, a 3-run triple. One ball, no strikes. Last 76 games, Cirillo, a .357 hitter. Second in the National League with a .376 average with men on base. 2 balls, no strikes.
I think the Cubs are going to announce tomorrow, Wayne, that they're going to pick up another pitcher, and we believe he's a left-hander. Of course, no announcement yet. We'll just have to wait and see and await that announcement.
And another left-hander, Stoney, might mean that they could move Terry Mulholland to the starting rotation. Down the line, fair ball. That will score Nielsen. Cirillo on his way to second base. Glenn Allen Hill up with it in left. And the Brewers continue to bang away at the Cubs.
RBI number 63. And Cirillo, just an awfully good hitter. There's not much you can do with him. And now the bullpen must get up, I believe, as Phil Regan is going to the mound. And we'll see if anybody's going to start throwing. Yesterday, Wingert, Myers, Heredia, Stevens, Adams, Mulholland, and Karshner all threw in the ball game. So you'd want a good outing out of Mike Morgan today. But things have fallen apart for him here in the 3rd, and apparently nobody up in the pen. Phil Regan just out to settle him down. And in this his 15th year in the major leagues, he should be well settled.
3, make it 4 hits for the Brewers in this inning. The Cubs have committed an error. There's only 1 out. And now Jeff Cirillo at second base. What a season he's had. 27 doubles, 63 runs batted in, and this guy is nothing but trouble. Jeremy Burnett, 264 with a 34 homers, 116 runs batted in, including today 26 doubles for him. 1 ball, no strikes.
Now the trouble that Mike Morgan's had with Burnett, you'd have to think he would be careful. He's got first base open. And yesterday, in a similar situation, with runners on second and third, they weren't careful. He had a 3-run homer.
1 ball, 1 strike. Well, we showed you earlier today at the top of the show, the Brewers averaging over 7.5 runs a game against the Cubs. As a team coming into today against Chicago, the Brewers hitting .275 with 10 homers and 61 runs scored. Throw 3 more runs onto that total. Make it 4 more runs onto that total.
I think that's what's been surprising, Wayne, because obviously the Cubs have had some problems with some teams this year, but most teams against the Cubs, if they beat them, they outpitch them. This is one of the few teams we've seen this year consistently able to outslug the Cubs. The Cubs have hit their pitching staff very well. The Brewers have just hit the Cubs staff that much better, and they've won 5 of the 8 games.
2-1 delivery. Fly ball deep to center field, and it is gone. Jeremy Burnett's a 2-run homer. It is 6-2 Milwaukee.
Well, they keep pitching to Burnett with first base open and a right-hander on deck. They did it yesterday, cost him a 3-run homer. Morgan does it here today, cost him a 2-run homer. And the Brewers have hit for the cycle here in the 3rd inning. As now the bullpen starts to work as Mike Morgan has just gotten crushed. Yes, there was an error, and there's no doubt that that error was costly. However, after the error, a single, a triple, a double, and now a towering home run. The 35th of the year from Burnitz. He's driven in 118. And with first base open, I suggest we pitch around this guy every now and then.
Sammy Burnitz receiving congratulations for 35 on the season. Meanwhile, back at the plate, no balls and 1 strike on Marquise Grissom. And it's 1-1. Jeremy Burnitz has just been wearing the Cubs out.
Well, he has more runs batted in than every left-hand hitter in the league. And he has that for a reason. And that reason is that he has as much power to right center as he does left center. And I just believe you should make someone else in this lineup beat you.
Tell you what, that was a rocket he sent to the center field bleachers. Back to the mound over the head of Morgan. Jose Hernandez, top play, they got him. Grissom, a speedy runner down the first base line, retired on a nifty play by Jose Hernandez. 2 men down.
This one barely over the head of Morgan, and a good effort by Jose Hernandez. The catch, the flip, and he's got him by a half step.
Two men down, and Jeff Jenkins, the 9th hitter in the inning for the Brewers.
And Wayne, for the second time in 2 days, the Brewers have put 6 runs on the board
in the third
inning.
I tell you know, take away the 3rd inning, and these guys aren't doing much. Well, actually, they are. 7 runs in the other innings yesterday. Here's a fly ball center field. Lance Johnson on his horse, and this one carries to the center field bleachers. It's gone. Jeff Jenkins, his 9th home run of the season. And Mike Morgan has been tattooed here in the 3rd by the Brewers.
9th home run, 28th driven in. 2 singles, a double, a triple, and 2 home runs here in the 3rd. And the bullpen up and going. It's Dave Stevens. I know that Jim Riggleman doesn't want to go to the pen this early. He'd love to see Morgan get through this inning and right the ship. But at this moment, the ship appears to be the Titanic.
And the iceberg, people like Dave Nielsen, 3-run triple, Jeff Cirillo, run-scoring double, Jeremy Burnitz, 2-run homer, and Jeff Jenkins, a home run. And the jagged edges of the Brewer attack have cut a hole into the Cubs boat here this afternoon. Bobby Hughes singled to start this ball game, singled under the glove of Jose Hernandez into left field.
There's the youngster Jeff Jenkins. He'll put a charge into that one, so a couple of huge home runs.
The wind is blowing out, but nothing like yesterday. Here's another one. Prodigious. Will it make Waveland Avenue? It does. Jeff Jenkins started the inning with a single. He adds a home run, and the Brewers continue their assault. 8 runs in the 3rd.
I would think that would be about it for Mr. Morgan. We'll have to see what Jim Riggleman has in mind, as Mike Morgan has thrown a few pitches right down the middle, and these Brewers have obliged by hitting, right around 1,300 or 1,400 feet of home runs.
8 runs, 7 hits, 3 home runs. And whoever caught that on the other side of the bleachers on Waveland Avenue threw it back in.
Take a look at Bobby Hughes, who does have tremendous power. This is a slider that doesn't do a whole lot except slide out of the yard.
Pitch fouled back by Rafael Roque. Riggs trying to get Morgan through this 3rd inning somehow. I wonder if too much damage has been done, but a long way to go on this one. 1 ball, 1 strike. And it's 1-2. Morgan retired the Brewers in order in the first. The Brewers threatened in the second, but Jeff Jenkins grounded into a 6-3 double play. But here in the third, the floodgates have opened on Mike Morgan. Time called to the plate.
And they just keep throwing baseballs back. Lance Johnson will throw one out of play. Apparently they just found that Bobby Hughes home run.
They must have just, yeah, exactly. 1-2 pitch chopped on the ground right side. Grace beats Morgan. The inning is mercifully over. 8 runs, 7 hits, 1 error. The Brewers leave the bases clean, and they have assumed an 8-2 lead in the middle of the third.
This portion of Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is brought to you by your local Chicagoland and Northern Indiana GMC dealers.
Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelopes roam.
This man entertained his wife for 20 minutes.
Oh, son of a
ComEd, what do you do with your power?
Next up, diversity.
Hey Cubs fans, enjoy a drink with your friends before, during, or after the game at the Friendly Confines. Near the corner of Addison and Sheffield, the Friendly Confines offers easy access in and out of the game. Enjoy Cubs ambience inside or order from the grill and relax in the outdoor patio.
Cubs fans, now you can show off your pride with merchandise from the official Cubs gift catalog, like official Cubs jackets, jerseys, shirts, and hats. To get your free copy of the Cubs gift catalog, visit the Cubs website at www.cubs.com or call 773-404-CUBS.
Making friends is our business was a motto that my grandfather created back in the 1950s when he came up with the slogan. And beer is about friendship, about relationships. It's about making friends, going out, meeting new people, and there's not a better beverage to do it with than a Budweiser. There are 500 million beer drinkers in the world, 80 million beer drinkers in the United States, and they must know something.
An 8 spot by the Brewers in the top of this inning. Before we go any further, let's pause for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN, Chicago.
A touch of fall showing on the ivy, the outfield wall of Wrigley Field. Final days of summer. Wayne Larrabee, Steve Stone, good to have you with us. Chip Carey will be back in this chair tomorrow here at Wrigley Field. Jose Hernandez leads it off, and let's see if the Cubs have an answer for that 8 spot posted by the Milwaukee Brewers at the top of this inning.
Well, Roque is going to be far from unhittable, and once again a long way to go.
Jose reaches for that one, dumps it into right field, but it hangs up long enough for Jeremy Burnitz to track it down 1 away.
Yesterday the Cubs fought all the way back. They were down 6 runs. They got close. They got within 1. But then the Brewers wouldn't quit. They tacked another 4 on, and the Cubs lost by 2. So the Cubs have made their comebacks against the Brewers. They've hit their pitching staff, but these Brewer hitters have just decimated the Cubs staff.
Here's Gracie, and a strike on the outside corner. Mark grounded out to end the first.
Still no score in San Francisco. That game heading to the top of the 5th. The Rockies at the Giants.
A rope rifle foul that's scattered with the bullpen down the right field line. Stay with us. Sammy Sosa coming up next, and he'll be coming up quite a few times the rest of the day, I would imagine, if the Cubs can get their offense on track. Here's the 0-2. Called strike 3. It's the second strikeout of the afternoon for Roque. Sammy Sosa to the plate, walked his first trip.
And with the bullpen up and going, it's Dave Stevens. You would think that he would come into the ball game to face that fearsome Brewer lineup in the top of the 4th as they head to the top of their lineup. They have been terrific in this series.
Cubs have averaged almost 6 runs a game against Milwaukee pitching this season, so With 2 on the board, hopefully there will be many more. 2 out, nobody on to Sosa, and the pitch check swing taken outside for ball 1. Sammy now 2 for 10 on the homestand. He's been walked 4 times. Fouled it back and out of play. Dominican to Dominican Republic in this matchup of Roque to Sosa. You can see the wind blowing out at Wrigley Field. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Baltimore defeated Anaheim in the one race that is still racing, and that is the American League West. Texas and Anaheim still very close.
The 2-1 pitch, fouled it back, and it's 2-2. And the Dominican announcers are still here, hoping to see Sammy get number 60 perhaps today.
Gracias a WGN. Estamos
Let's listen to him right here on this pitch.
Dominicana. José Ravelo, Fernando Ravelo y un servidor Ernesto Krawinkel. Desde la cumbre sirve Roque, bola pegada. 3 bolas, 2 strike la cuenta para Samuel Sosa.
Está buscando suerte WGN, a ver si damos otro cuadrangular hoy.
Sí, lo dimos ayer. Dime, José.
Sosa campeón bate, uno blanco.
Lanza Roque, bola pegada a la cuarta, 2 bases por bolas para Samuel Sosa.
They're not really happy that Sammy has drawn 2 walks.
Sí, 2 bases por bolas
against Rafael Roque.
A Samuel Sosa, el dominicano Roque.
They did not come here to see Sammy Sosa walk all the way from the Dominican Republic. They're not happy with that, and neither is this big crowd on hand here at Wrigley Field this afternoon. A 2-out walk to Sosa, and Glenn Allen Hill steps to the plate. Hill singled and scored in the 2nd inning. We are in the bottom of the 3rd inning, 8-2. Milwaukee with an 8 spot on the top half of this frame. Rafael Roque misses down low for ball 1. Again, as we mentioned before, this is the first time that the Cubs have seen this left-hander. Usually the first time or 2 through the order, the pitcher has the advantage in that situation.
I would think that they certainly do have an advantage in that situation.
1 ball, no strikes. Hill hits a fly ball right field. In play, Burnitz makes the catch, and the inning is over. The Cubs go relatively quietly in the 3rd, stranding Sosa at first. 3 complete here at Wrigley Field. Sammy's walked twice, and the Brewers have a 6-run lead.
This portion of Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is brought to you by your local Chicagoland and Northern Indiana GMC dealers.
This gentleman got the door for 42 people. ComEd, what do you do with your power?
This is Caesar.
Julius, the Senate wants you killed. Look out for Brutus.
For the most reliable digital network, get Cellular One. We've led the way in wireless phone service from the start. But just think if we'd gotten it to you sooner. Now get 50% off any digital edge rate plan for airtime as low as 4 cents a minute.
Ever wonder where all those SUVs come from? Almost without exception, from people who also put their name on cars. One exception, Jimmy from GMC, the company that sold trucks exclusively for almost a century. Jimmy offers a long list of luxury amenities and also delivers the capability and versatility of an authentic truck.
Get up to $2,500 cash back or get $3,000 in average finance savings with low 0.9% APR GMAC financing. See your Chicagoland and Northern Indiana GMC dealer today, the truck professionals.
Chicago's favorite meteorologist, Tom Skilling. Weekdays at noon and 9 on Chicago's very own WGN News.
Well, Dave Stevens is on in relief of Mike Morgan to pitch for the Cubs.
Stevens at 1-2, ERA 4.05, on for the 30th time. And the Cubs have a long way to come back. They're down 6, but they have a long way to go. This is just the 4th inning, so it's up to Stevens to hold down this very potent Brewer lineup.
Stevens yesterday pitched an inning, gave up a run on 2 hits, which, if nothing else, was a moral victory for the way the things were going for the Cubs pitching staff yesterday. Top of the order, Vina, Loretta, and Nielsen face Stevens. No balls and 1 strike on Fernando Vina. Vina grounded out to Grace at first, reached on an error by Jose Hernandez in the 3rd.
Mike Morgan went 3 innings, gave up 8 runs on 8 hits. He walked 1, he fanned 1.
No balls, 1 strike. And it's 1-1.
Well, the last thing you wanted today after that 7-pitcher performance yesterday was an early departure, but that's exactly what happened. Jim Riggleman has gone to the bullpen, and hopefully Dave Stevens can put together a couple solid innings.
Talk about being down. No Kerry Wood. Jeremy Gonzalez, 2 starters on that staff. This is a rocket to left field, but right at Glenn Allen Hill. 1 away. You know, you take the starting pitchers away, and it's not just who fills in the rotation, but it's how many innings does that cost you in terms of your bullpen. I mean, obviously, you'd rather have Wood and you'd rather have Jeremy Gonzalez chewing up innings as starters when you come in with guys that maybe weren't even with your ball club earlier in the year. Chances are they're not going to give you 6, 7, 8 innings every time out, and that's going to wear on the bullpen, and that's what's probably going to be happening down the stretch for the Cubs. 1 ball, no strikes on Loretta. But you look at this Milwaukee staff, they have been ravaged by injury as well. 3 starters out of their staff. St. Louis, you mentioned that many times this year. They're in the same boat. 1-0 delivery fouled back. You lose 3 guys from your starting staff, Steven. The New York Yankees have perhaps the deepest starting pitching in all of baseball in terms of numbers of guys they could call on to start games for them, right up there with Atlanta. But even they would have trouble making amends if they lose 3 guys out of their starting staff at one time. 1 ball, 1 strike.
In the case of the Cubs, this would be 1 or 2. Take your choice with the loss of Kerry Wood at this point. And Phil Garner was posed the question about the loss of Kerry Wood and what it would mean in relationship to, let's say, the loss of Sammy Sosa or an everyday player. It's something interesting to say as far as that concerned. Phil said that he feels the loss of your everyday run producer, in the case of Sammy Sosa, a guy who hits home run, drives in a lot of runs, that would be a little more devastating than the loss of Kerry Wood because he helps you on a daily basis. So he would rank the loss of your #1 run producer as the most important loss. He said secondly he would rank the loss of your closer, because here's a man who also can help you perhaps 4 times a week, or in most of the games you're going to win. Then he would rank the loss of the #1 starter. Not saying you want to lose any of them, but he ranked them in order of importance. And Rod Beck has just been magnificent and has had his hand in most of the Cubs' wins lately.
Payoff pitch fouled back and out of play by Mark Loretta. Brewers are leading by the score of 8-2. We're in the top of the 5th inning. Make it 4th inning.
This seems like the 5th.
You know why? Because my scorebook is all messed up. That's why. From the Brewers batting around to the 3rd. There's a shot into left field, a base hit by Mark Loretta.
Loretta took the big aggressive turn, and Glenn Allen Hill got a good throw into second base, so he had to hold it right there.
Mike Morgan gave up 8 runs on 8 hits in 3 innings. 3 home runs by the Brew Crew, all of which came in the 3rd.
That's the first time this year that they've hit 3 home runs in 1 inning. And unfortunately, we were here to see it.
Nielsen, a 3-run triple. He cleared the bases in the 3rd. 1 ball, no strikes. Now the wild card race certainly has been interesting to watch as the New York Mets. Mike Piazza, 7 home runs in his last 16 games, leading the Mets, and the Cubs trying to hang on. And San Francisco Giants, somehow, some way, and you almost never get their score in your morning paper if you live in the suburbs. You always have to wonder, now, did they win or lose last night? But they somehow have hung in the race, 2.5 games behind. And they are now in a scoreless ball game.
They also have the most favorable schedule, but probably the weakest team of the three combatants at this point.
They are scoreless with Colorado in the bottom of the 5th inning out in San Francisco. But you're right. They have when they left here about 3 weeks ago, left Wrigley Field, everyone thought that the San Francisco Giants were dead in the water. But the Mets and Cubs faltered. We showed you at the top of the show in September the wild card combatants. No one has been able to put together a hot streak of victories and been able to pull away in this race. The teams seem to mirror one another as they go through. The Cubs win in the afternoon. The Mets win at night. Back and forth and so on. 3 balls and 1 strike now on Dave Nielsen. Mets playing in Montreal tonight.
Let's see if they decide to run with Loretta to stay out of the double play.
3 balls and 2 strikes now. So for the second hitter in a row, Stevens goes the distance. It is still a wonderful day to be at the ball game. And as Arnie Harris has said, although he didn't say it today, 8 runs ain't going to win this game. Three balls, 2 strikes. Runner going. Popped it up behind home plate. Scott Service gives it a chase, but it's well back in the seats.
And with the career numbers of Nielsen against Stevens, they don't figure to run into a strike him out, throw him out double play, so Loretta was going. He stole 9 bases, been caught 6 times.
Joel Youngblood is the first base coach. 3 balls and 2 strikes the count on Dave Nielsen. Dave Stevens. Runner going, pitch is hit in the air. Foul territory, Gaetti. And who got it? Gaetti or Hernandez? Gary Gaetti comes up with it. So 2 men down. And Loretta back to first.
And that one drifted well back toward the field of play. Jose Hernandez was there to help. And Gaetti just figuring out the capriciousness of the Wrigley Field winds as he takes it away from Jose.
2 down for Jeff Cirillo. Strikeout victim in the second, hit a run scoring double in the third.
And he took it right down the line past Gary Gaetti as they hit for the cycle on 4 consecutive hits. A single by Loretta, triple by Nielsen, double by Cirillo, and a home run by Burnett.
Brewers fell out of the race in the Central Division, not due to their hitting, but mostly because their pitching wasn't able to hold up. As we mentioned, the injuries to their starting staff.
If you take a look at ERAs, the Cubs, with the pasting yesterday, have fallen right in front of the Brewers. The Cubs staff ERA 4.44. That's not going to be helped by today's play. The Brewers at 4.56. The Cubs 10th and the Brewers 11th in the National League.
Sharply hit, base hit, left field. Loretta turns second. He'll stay there, and a 2-out single by Jeff Cirillo.
And this is not good because now you don't have a chance to pitch around Jeremy Burnett. You've got runners at first and second, and Burnett, who's hit 2 homers, accounting for 5 runs, along with a double in a game and a third in this series.
Runners lead away from first and second base. Cirillo at first, Loretta at second, 2 men down. Stevens trying to escape the 4th inning. 8-2 Brewers. Inside, ball 1.
Well, yesterday in a key situation on a high pitch, Burnett's left his bat out over the plate, and the ball was tapped right back to the pitcher. That's how the Cubs got out of a jam in the 5th inning yesterday. They could use one of those again right here.
The 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. You know, if you take a look at the situation, I mean, John Jaha solid first baseman, good hitting first baseman, has been injured, hampered most of the season, hasn't been of much use to this Milwaukee ball club throughout the season. He was having his typical offensive year. Couple that with Jeremy Burnitz and Cirillo and the rest of them. Boy, this club has some offensive potential, doesn't it?
Well, it's also had some offensive production, but as you well chronicled, that really hasn't been the problem with this team. They can put some runs on the board and they can make it difficult on a lot of pitching staffs, but they also are quite generous in the pitching department, and that's largely due to the starting rotation being decimated early.
2-1 delivery on the outside corner to even the count at 2-2.
Burnitz thought that one was a little outside. It was the same spot as the pitch called on Mark Grace for strike 3, and Jerry Crawford is going to call that pitch.
2-2 with 2 out and 2 on. Here it is. Popped him up. Left side of the infield. Hernandez calling off Gaetti. And Jose makes the catch. And the inning is over. The Brewers threaten with a couple of hits. They leave a pair. Middle of the 4th. Milwaukee by 6.
For Tom Hanks, new neighbors are like a box of chocolates. You never know which ones are the nuts.
Neighbors from hell.
God, I love this street.
Tom Hanks.
I'm gonna go watch television.
The Burbs. Tonight at 7 on WGN.
Osco's 1-hour photo service costs just $6.99. So come on, smile.
Ow! Get out of my kitchen, you fool.
Sorry.
A participating advertiser of Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is Ford, your neighborhood Ford store. Quality people, quality products.
Flip log day 1 on the road,
In the air.
to cover Major League Baseball.
It's the year of the home run, my friends. Jack City. We're watching the big boys launch the long-range missiles over and over again, higher and higher. In fact, this ball right here is a ball that Mark McGwire launched into the propeller of the Bud 1 airship, proving that he is the Red Menace.
Hey, man, call the FAA. These guys are a threat to our airspace.
It's coming. And this time there's something new. Now there's a wind tunnel by Hoover that's self-propelled, so it almost works by itself. Tests show wind tunnel picks up more dirt than any other clean air upright. And now you can get one that's self-propelled. Self-propelled wind tunnel.
Back at Wrigley Field in Chicago, the Cubs are still trying to come up with an answer for that 8th spot thrown by the Brewers in the top of the 3rd. We go to the bottom of the 4th. Gaetti, Morandini, and Service to face Rafael Roque. Mark your calendars now for the 14th annual Cubs convention. Join the 1998 Cubs players along with your favorite Cubs from the past. This fan favorite will take place at the Chicago Hilton and Towers from January 15th to the 17th, 1999. For reservations, call 312-922-4400 or 773-404-CUBS. 1 ball, no strikes on Gary Gaetti. Popped out to left field in his first trip to the plate. 1-1. Gaetti having a pretty good season overall. If you combine his numbers with the Cardinals and the Cubs, has the average up to 283 with the 16 homers and 60 runs batted in. 2 balls, 1 strike. Rafael Roque, 2-10 with a 4.29 ERA at St. Lucie last year. And that's a base hit. Into right center field, cut off by Marquise Grissom. Gary Gaetti makes the turn, and he has the 4th hit of the day for the Cubs.
Well, you've got to figure that the Cubs will get to Roque, and that's why it's important that Stevens hold down the Brewers. Mickey Morandini with a career high of 50 runs batted in with his 2-run single in the 2nd. when all was beautiful before the 8-run third.
You mean before we hit the iceberg? Is that what you're telling me? Mickey Morandini, 1 ball, no strikes. As I said, there's a gash in the hull of our ship. I don't know if we're going to be able to survive this. What did it take? A little over 2 hours for the Titanic to go down? We may have 2 more hours here.
Fortunately, it was early, and early enough for this offense, which has been pretty good this year and have bailed the Cubs out on a number of occasions, to come back in this one.
Could be 2. Short hop to Loretta. Vigna plays to first for the double play.
Well,
Taylor May.
there's nothing Gary Gaetti can do, so it's going to be an out for sure at second, because he's got to wait. He did just that, and Mickey grounds into the double play. 6, 4, and 3.
2 out, nobody on for Scott Service. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning. Earlier today, Houston beat St. Louis 3-2, and no, Mark McGwire did not hit a home run in that game. He struck out 3 times. Randy Johnson got the win, his 8th in 9 decisions since going to the Astros. 1 ball, no strikes to Scott Service.
Houston has by far played the best baseball in the National League for quite some time now.
Service pop-up on the right side of the infield, and the second baseman Vigna hauls it in, and the Cubs go down quietly in the 4th. No runs, a base hit, no errors, and the bases left clean. At the end of 4, the Brewers own an 8-2 lead.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is brought to you by Hoover. Nobody gets the dirt like Hoover. Nobody.
Flying to the New England area for business? If these 12 reasons don't convince you to fly Southwest Airlines to Providence or Manchester, maybe this will. Call 1-800-I-FLY-SWA.
You are now free to move about the country.
The home run race is heating up. Step up to the plate and play the Pepsi Major League Baseball Home Run Countdown. Go to in-store Pepsi displays, fill out an entry form, and if you guess the 98 Home Run Champions total, you'll be entered to win a trip for 4 to this year's World Series.
Just when you didn't think time could fly any faster, along comes the Dodge Summer Clearance, where you have a limited time to get $1,500 cash back on Dodge Stratus, which lowers your price to $14,000 on this brilliantly designed automobile. Or instead of cash back, buy with low 1.9 financing, which can also save you money. But whichever Stratus offer you choose, please hurry, while time is still on your side. See the friendly Dodge dealer near you.
Larry and Roseanne, weekdays on Chicago's very own WGN News at Noon.
A sensational late summer afternoon in Chicago at Wrigley Field. The only thing disturbing the pleasure of the home folks is an 8th spot by the Brewers in the 3rd. We go to the 5th inning. Marquise Grissom, Jeff Jenkins, and Bobby Hughes for the Brewers against Dave Stevens, who's trying to give the Cubs a few innings here in the middle portion of this ball game and keep the Brewers right where they're at. Strike 1 to the outside corner to Grissom, who is 0 for 1. He walked in the 2nd, grounded to short in the 3rd.
Grissom had a couple of hits in the game yesterday, scored 2 runs, walked once, and he hasn't done much here today.
Fly ball into right center field. Sammy Sosa draws a bead on it. 1 away. Steve, the shadows creeping across the infield here at Wrigley Field. The pitcher in the sunlight, the hitter in the shade. Does it have much of an effect?
Well, you would think it would be much to the advantage of the pitcher, but this time of year, that's usually what happens. And eventually those shadows will move across the mound and then even up the visibility. When that happens, they'll probably turn on the lights here. Jenkins had a towering home run back in the very productive 3rd inning.
Brewers sent 11 men to the plate in the third. 8 runs on 7 hits, 3 home runs in that inning.
And yesterday in the third, they sent 10 men to the plate, 6 runs on 4 hits.
The 1-0 pitch. Good pitch in on the hands. He fouled it back, and it's 1-1.
I think we can work through this, Wayne, by going just from the 2nd to the 4th tomorrow.
Yes, indeed.
Well, you are going to be with the Battling Bears in Pittsburgh against those fearsome Steelers.
And they will have to battle those Steelers, who will be all fired up in their home opener. 1-1 deliver. Ooh. Almost hit him. Look out.
Jenkins shows good reflexes, spinning out of the way.
How did he not get hit by this pitch is what I want to know. Look at that move. Ooh. 2-1 delivery, and it's 3 balls and 1 strike. 86 degrees, and the winds appear to be picking up just a bit here in the late afternoon at Wrigley Field. Base hit, right center field. 3rd hit off of Stevens, 11th hit of the ball game for the Brew Crew.
And the Cubs have announced that they've obtained Chris Haney from the Kansas City Royals in exchange for cash considerations. Haney, 29 years old, was 6-6. His ERA, 7.03 in 33 games, 12 of them starts for the Royals. In 97 1/3 innings, he allowed 125 hits. And he is a major league veteran.
Runner aboard at first, Jeff Jenkins. Bobby Hughes, the hitter, 2 for 2, single and homer. He scored twice.
I guess the question, Wayne, when you obtain a left-hander who has started, do you intend then to start Terry Mulholland, or do you intend to start Chris Haney? And I think that's the one question that has to be answered by Jim Riggleman, and we will address that issue tomorrow, find out just exactly how they intend to use him.
Well, going by the theory you espoused a moment ago from Phil Garner, the manager of the Brewers, you would think a reliever can help you out on more than one occasion over the course of a 5-day period. Mulholland has been a valuable reliever for the Cubs. I doubt we'll see him today. He went 2 1/3 innings yesterday. But can he help you more coming out of the bullpen, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, than he can starting once every 5 days? I guess that's what you have to determine. 1 ball, 1 strike. But right now, the 4th and 5th spots in your rotation are really beginning to wear you out.
Yeah, they're a little soft at this point. And there's not too many left. And there's Phil Regan, man who's done a nice job with this pitching staff. But a couple of key injuries. The first to Jeremy Gonzalez. The second injury to Kerry Wood. That could turn out to be devastating.
2 balls, 1 strike. That's a strike on the inside portion. And it's 2-2. Bobby Hughes on 2-1, refusing to go after a pitcher's pitch. Dave Stevens, his contract purchased from Iowa on June 20th. Went 4-1, couple of saves, 3.08 ERA, and 26 AAA appearances. And the 2-2 pitch. 3 balls and 2 strikes. We're at the top of the 5th inning. The Brewers, with an 8 spot in the 3rd, have an 8-2 lead over the Cubs. Runner go. Pitch is fouled back and out of play.
I'd like to thank Ruth and Joe Craig, big Cub fans from Ketchikan, Alaska, who sent up a smoked salmon. And so, Wayne, if you would care to partake in any of that.
I guess you could say it was an appropriate gift given the way we were smoked in the top of the 3rd.
And it arrived here in the 3rd inning.
It did, indeed. It preceded that smoking.
We're going to give it the commander.
Runner going, 3-2 pitch down, low ball 4. So with 1 out, runners at 1st and 2nd now for the Brewers here in the 5th.
Well, let's see if they're going to bunt with Roque. who did have a sacrifice in the big third inning.
Rafael Roque came into this afternoon's game 1 for 10 as a hitter with 2 sacrifices. He did successfully sacrifice in the third. He grounded out also in the third inning. Some guys had 2 at-bats that inning.
And Bobby Hughes had a single and a homer.
Yeah. For him, he never wanted the third inning to end. 1 out, 2 on. Infield's going to be charging at the corners, and here's the bunt attempt, foul on the third base side. This is a picture postcard afternoon at Wrigley Field in Chicago. All that needs to be changed is the score. There it is. That's all that spoils the fun for the home fans. At 8 in the third for Milwaukee. No balls, 1 strike. Pulls off of this one, and it's 1-1.
Still no score in San Francisco. The Rockies and the Giants scoreless into the top of the 7th. A 3-run homer by Darrell Hamilton in the 8th inning did end the Giants last night and stop them from getting a game closer to both the Mets and the Cubs.
Hamilton, big moment for him against his former team.
Yes.
2-1 the count on Roque.
Well, this game's moving right along. Yesterday 340 for a 9-inning game, and more of the same here today. So it's just some free baseball for folks.
Bunted it foul, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, somebody said this is a timeless game, Stoney. Yes. There's no clock here. See that clock out there on the scoreboard? Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't pertain to what's happening down below it. Now we started at 3:05 or thereabouts. My flight is until 8:45.
Well, you have all kinds of time.
All kinds of time. Here's the bunt on the third base side, and Gaetti makes the play. 2 Morandini, and once again Roque for the second time able to sacrifice.
And for the second time with 2 strikes, he's able to sacrifice. So now you move to the top again with Fernando Vina, who's been somewhat of a pest in this series. It was on his ground ball, and Jose Hernandez couldn't field it. Kind of opened the floodgates in that third inning.
Well, that put runners on the corners, and from there, that put runners, I should say, on first and second. And from there, single by Loretta, base clearing triple by Nielsen, run scoring double Cirillo. To add insult to injury, 2-run homer by Burnitz. And here's a shot into center field in front of Lance Johnson. They're going to wave the runner in, and coming around to score, Jeff Jenkins and the Milwaukee Brewers. Jenkins and Hughes score, 2 runs in, and they add to the advantage. It's now a 10-2 ball game.
RBIs 40 and 41 for Fernando Vina. Yesterday Vina had 3 hits. Today he has a 2-run single, and things deteriorating for the Cubs. Their pitching staff has been battered 2 straight games by these pesky Brewers.
And here's Mark Loretta, 2 for 3 with a run scored. 2 out. Stevens trying to get through the 5th. 1 ball, no strikes. Loretta since June 9th, red hot at .339. Has 4 hits in 8 trips to the plate in this series. One ball, 1 strike.
You speak French, Wayne?
Not very well.
I'll ask you to say a prayer in French for the Expos tonight to beat the Mets.
I'll go to my French dictionary, and it should be right next to my Spanish dictionary. Lost the bat on that wave and miss. Doug Manzolino, the third base coach, picks it up.
It's Reed against Vasquez tonight. Reed at 16-9, Vasquez at 4-14 as the Mets once again take on the Montreal Expos and their one-man wrecking crew, Vladimir Guerrero. And they had the foresight to sign Guerrero to a 5-year, $28 million contract. He hit his 36th home run, tying an all-time Expo record held by none other than Henry Rodriguez.
They don't hand out long-term contracts very often in Montreal. And a swing and a miss by Loretta. And the inning is over for the Brewers. 2 runs on a couple of hits. They leave a man middle of the 5th at Wrigley Field. Tall order for the Cubs to come back here today.
This mom gave a butterfly its wings. ComEd, what do you do with your power?
Here's food for thought.
You cook naked?
Friends is 9 days away.
Yeah, toast, oatmeal, nothing that spatters.
So help yourself.
That's a fact.
Because you gotta have Friends. All week long, 9 days away.
Beginning September 21st at 6 and 10.
Budweiser has 12 breweries located across the country. The Budweiser that you get from your local brewery is usually the freshest beer available in the marketplace. Budweiser sells very quickly. The average age of Budweiser on the shelf is about 40 days. Having local breweries ensures that your Budweiser is the freshest possible beer it can be by the time you purchase it.
A participating advertiser for Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is the new Dodge. From cars to minivans to trucks, it's about change. The new Dodge.
Get the inside scoop on today's brightest stars. Shannon Doherty and Josh Jackson host 17, The Faces for Fall.
Sunday at 5 on WGN.
Hey, fans searching for comprehensive coverage of the Cubs as they vie for contention to the National League playoffs? Look no further. Byline, the Cubs monthly magazine, provides a complete package of Cubs coverage for fans nationwide. Subscriptions start at just $19.95. All 2-year subscribers receive a free copy of the Ryan Sandberg Day commemorative program. Call 773-404-CUBS to order or visit the Cubs official website at www.cubs.com. Dave Stevens has only been up a couple of times this season. 0 for 2 at the plate with the Cubs this year. No balls and 1 strike. It shows you. And that's a single to center field. How about that? Not a bad start. The pitcher singles. Stevens allowed to hit because yesterday Jim Riggleman used 6 men out of the pen. He needs innings from Dave Stevens here this afternoon.
And it's the first career hit of Dave Stevens, who gets a fastball, takes it right back up the middle. And granted, Wayne, the pitching staff hasn't done well today, but they are 2 for 2 hitting the ball.
Got that right. Oh, a base hit in the second. 1 on, nobody out. Lance Johnson 0 for 2 has grounded out twice. Inside, ball 1. Cubs are trying to reach the 50 victory plateau here at Wrigley Field for the first time since 1984. They have 48 wins at home here this year. On the ground, right side, Nielsen to short for 1, back to first, and the double play.
Well, that's hard to believe that you could turn 2 on a little tapper to the right side, but they turn a 3-6-1 with Roque involved. And watch it again. This is a slow developing double play. And they turn it with ostensibly one of the league's fastest men going down the line.
Very well done by the Brewers. 2 men down, nobody on for Jose Hernandez.
Very happy Dave Nielsen, who took off the catcher's gear that he wore yesterday. He's probably just happy that he's out from behind the plate.
Well, you guys were talking about it yesterday. I guess they're experimenting with him right now and trying to see if he can be a catcher.
I think, well, he started as a catcher, and I think they believe that he can catch every day next year, and there's probably a home run.
To left center field, number 22 for Jose Hernandez. So something on this beautiful afternoon for the home fans to applaud. Jose Hernandez, a rocket into the left field bleachers.
22 and 72 for Jose, and it has been a banner year offensively.
It is a 10-3 ball game in favor of the Brewers. There he is, Jose Hernandez. Now Mark Grace looks at strike one called. Grace 0 for 2, struck out his last trip to the plate. The last 17 games, Grace 343. And that's a base hit left center field.
The one thing about this Cub offense, I know that they've been dug into a hole this year, but they just have never quit. And I don't think there's any quit in this ball club as Jose Hernandez takes it out of the yard. Southwest Airlines, it goes 374 feet.
You forgot happy.
They would have been a lot happier earlier.
If it wasn't for the 8 in the third by the Brewers, they'd been a lot happier. You're right. Oh, they've got the net out across the street. Here is slamming Sammy Sosa. Walked twice and scored a run here today.
I'd like to see them pitch to him one time.
They haven't given him much to hit yet. 1 ball, no strikes.
And every time Roque throws one out of the zone, he's greeted with a tremendous chorus of boos. I think in 2 at-bats, he's really had just 1 pitch to hit. He fouled it off to the right side, and here comes Phil Garner. He's coming out to talk with him.
So Scrap Iron comes out to the mound. Chip Carey was talking about it yesterday, and yes, it's true. Phil Garner, one of the fine managers in baseball, has been under some heat up in Milwaukee. This season has not gone according to plan. Many felt the Brewers had enough to contend in the division, or at least for a wild card spot. Things took a bad turn as the calendar made it into August.
I think what made it tougher, Wayne, was that first Sal Bando gave Phil Garner a ringing endorsement, and then about a week to 10 days later, he kind of rescinded it. And I think that made things a little more difficult for Garner and the entire organization.
2 balls, no strikes, and Sosa. The crowd anticipating that Roque is going to pitch around Sosa, roaring its disapproval.
I don't think so. I think he's trying to throw strikes. I just don't think that he's been able to.
Good fastball outside corner right there.
Because the man who's in the on-deck circle can do you a lot of damage also, and that's Glenn Allen Hill.
2 balls and 1 strike.
Visibility pretty tough around first base right now.
And it's 3-1. I don't know, Stoney. It looks to me like they're trying to stay away from him. And you can understand it. And they're trying to record history. Sosa trying to become just the 4th man in Major League history to reach 60 home runs. Line drive left field coming on for Jenkins. A diving stab to end the inning. Sosa got a 3-run pitch, hit a rope to left field, but Jenkins able to haul it in. 1 run on the home run by Jose Hernandez. And at the end of 5 in Chicago, the Brewers lead by 7.
The report is out. Find the complete text of Kenneth Starr's report to Congress and the President's rebuttal in all Sunday editions of the Chicago Tribune, on sale starting Saturday morning, wherever the Chicago Tribune is sold. It's your chance to read the allegations, see the details, and then decide for yourself. The complete Starr report. Find it here in the Sunday Chicago Tribune and online at chicagotribune.com.
Gang members drive around at night with their headlights off, and when someone goes to flash them their high beams to warn them.
Isn't there another story about a guy with an axe hiding in a woman's back seat?
Is what we call an urban legend.
From the producer of I Know What You Did Last Summer.
The idea of an urban legend serial killer, it's a stretch.
Urban legend.
Bloody Mary.
Rated R. Opens everywhere September 25th.
Passengers on arriving flights can be back from overruled concourse.
Hello? Mike, it's me. I just landed. How'd the meeting go? I think it went great. Terrific. Listen,
there's a new cellular service from Ameritech that's so clear, it's like you're there.
Lot C! We'll get on it first thing in the morning. All right, I'll see you then. Okay.
Virtually no static or interference. ClearPath, so clear, it's like you're there.
Now get a free phone and 300 minutes for only $45.
This copyright telecast is presented by the authority of the Chicago National League Ball Club, which has right of approval of the announcers and is intended solely for the private and non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Chicago National League Ball Club is strictly prohibited.
WGN luxury suite here at Wrigley Field. Bob Vorwald in the Cubs camp on the right. There he is, just turned around, waving to the screen. Our executive producer. I imagine all of those are his friends. Probably brought the neighborhood out for the game. It's nice to have connections, isn't it?
And they all came out to see Sammy today, who's been pitched to once, hit a rocket, but unfortunately didn't get enough air under it.
Dave Nielsen leads it off. Nielsen, Cirillo, Burnitz, the middle of the order to face Dave Stevens, who starts his third inning of work here this afternoon. A relief of Mike Morgan. Morgan made it through 3, if you want to call it that. Gave up 8 runs in the third inning. 1 ball, 1 strike.
They're through 7 in San Francisco, and nobody can score. 0-0.
Cincinnati beat Arizona 3-0 today. Houston over St. Louis 3-2. Mark McGwire did not hit a home run. And Randy Johnson won his 8th for the Astros.
And the big news, Wayne, was not that Randy Johnson won his 8th. It's the fact that in this, his 5th start, he did give up his first runs in the Astrodome. He gave up 2. His team scored 3. So he's 5-0, and he's given up 2 runs in 5 games in Houston.
2 balls, 1 strike. To left center field. Johnson had him played perfectly. 1 away. In the American League, scores of note, the White Sox beat Cleveland 6-4 in Cleveland. Baltimore shaded Anaheim 3-2. Toronto now leading the Yankees 5-2. That ball game in New York in the bottom of the 6th inning.
That means Anaheim now with a 1.5 lead over Texas. And the interesting thing about that race in the AL West is that those 2 teams meet head-to-head 5 more times before it's over. And Anaheim lost one of their best players, Darren Erstad, to a very bad hamstring pull. It's doubtful that he'll be available to them the rest of this season. And that is a huge loss for them.
1 out, nobody on for Jeff Cirillo. Strike 1 call. Well, the Yankees are in danger of losing 6 of their last 11 games. Imagine that'll get them stirring up there in the Bronx, huh?
Well, they have a lot of concern at 103 and 42.
I guess. Gloved by Gaetti. 2 men down.
Hard to believe, Wayne. 103 and 42 as they enter play today.
Don't you think the boss would want them to get the all-time record, get to 117 wins? Wouldn't there be some heat on you there?
No, you know the.
I'm being facetious.
The strange part about it is that I think if you've had the kind of great year they've had, if you really are bearing down every game to get an all-time record like that, I think it will hurt you in the playoffs. I think they want to go through. I think they want to play as well as they can possibly play, but I think they want to put all their attention at this point, now that they have it well locked up, to the playoffs, because you can win as many games as you want to during the regular season. You get knocked out in the first or second round without making it to the series, it's been a bad year.
High fly ball right field. Sosa has it tracked to the warning track and makes the catch, and Jeremy Burnitz and the Brewers are retired in the 6th. 1-2-3 nothing across. Middle of 6 in Chicago. Milwaukee 10, the Cubs 3.
Get ready to get creative. Get into a Rebel G. Capture your imagination on film. Let Rebel take you beyond snapshots and experience the ultimate rush.
Cool.
Rebel G and only EOS lenses from Canon.
I love my job. My name is Kelly Walker. I work in a daycare center. Keeps me busy. The kids are very active, moving and jiggling and boogieing all day long. I think their energy is contagious. It's a long day. It can be hard. Even when it's hard, it's the kids. They're what keeps me coming back in the morning.
Every day, over 100,000 people depend on PACE, along with millions of people who depend on them. PACE, a fresh approach to public transportation.
Tommy? Yeah? Becky Swanson's big brother says monsters live under little kids' beds. Becky Swanson's brothers don't. Besides, lights scare monsters away. Oh. Tommy? He says they live in closets, too.
These boys warded off countless monsters for 9 straight hours. ComEd, what do you do with your power?
A participating advertiser for Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is the Discover Card. Discover Card, the card that pays you back with a cashback bonus award.
Witness the trial of the millennium.
Objection! Order! I'll tell you!
Earth, final conflict.
Sunday at noon on WGN.
ComEd Power Profile. Well, it's the man coming to the plate right here.
Glenn Allen Hill since August 15th, hitting a robust .426 with 3 home runs, 9 driven in 18 games. And Glenn Allen Hill is 1 for 2 today as he leads off the 6th inning.
Hill scored in the second with a 2-run single by Mickey Borandini. Rafael Roque pitching into the 6th inning for the Milwaukee Brewers. Earlier this season, Roque combined with Eric Plunk to pitch the Brewers' first shutout of the campaign, 4-0 over Arizona. First shutout, Stoney, it happened on August 27th. That's a little late in the year to get your first shutout, but maybe that tells you something about where the pitching's been for Milwaukee this season.
And with Roque, he started out as a relief pitcher. His first year, just a short season, he relieved all 4 games he pitched.
Let's pause for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN, Chicago.
Wayne Larrabee, Steve Stone at Wrigley Field. Glenn Allen Hill now even in the count. 2 balls and 2 strikes against Roque.
In his second year in 20 games, he relieved all of them. Then in his third year, after 7 relief appearances, they made him a starter, and he's been starting ever since.
The 2-2. Just a bit inside. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
I think the surprising thing about him is that you very rarely see a guy that spent 5 years in A-ball eventually not only make it to the major leagues, but make it to the major leagues as a winning pitcher.
Down the right field line, foul. Glenn Allen hit that one a long way down the line. Steve Trexel will try to hold up these Brewers tomorrow. That could be trouble. Jenkins able to cut it off near the well. Hill is out at first with a leadoff single in the 6th.
Well, they've been knocking at the door against Roque. They just haven't been able to storm through it. Only 1-1-2-3 inning, that coming in the 1st inning. And other than that, only a couple of double play ground balls have gotten Roque off the hook. So let's see if the Cubs can break through here in the 6th.
8 hits for the Cubs. The Reverend Jesse Jackson on the left in the Sosa shirt. Cubs floppy cap on. But he got that cap from Arnie Harris. You know, Arnie wears that a lot.
He used to.
Floppy hat.
Not anymore. Saves those for Yosh now. And the bullpen up and going. It's Felix Heredia as we get down, occupied by the spot that Dave Stevens has.
Although, as you say, Cubs pitchers have 2 of the 8 hits here this afternoon.
And they've been very tough.
So here's Felix Heredia. 1 ball, no strikes. And it's 2-0.
Looks to me like Mr. Roque is starting to stiffen up somewhat. He doesn't look fluid or loose out here in the 6th inning. So let's see if the Cubs can take advantage before anybody gets up in that pen. They do, however, trail by 7 runs.
All's quiet down the right field line. Gaetti puts a charge into this one deep to right field, and it is gone. Gary Gaetti, 2-run homer, his 17th of the season, and his 6th with the Cubs.
Well, I believe that will start someone up in the pen. The Cubs long from dead in this one. There's still a long way to go. And Roque's not going to make it the distance here today. He's not throwing real well. The Cubs have 2 on the board. Let's see if they can make things a little more interesting before they get that bullpen ready to go as Don Rowe comes out. And he wants to kill some time until that bullpen does indeed get ready. So Gaetti with his 17th. He's driven in 62. And the Cubs have hit 2 out of the ballpark today, and now they trail by just 5.
10-5 Milwaukee here in the 6th, and watch it again.
Gaetti gets a low fastball out over the plate and drills it into right field. And this Cub offense just refuses to go down quietly. And for Southwest Airlines, this goes 374 happy feet.
Oh, they're happy now. They weren't happy earlier.
They're getting happier.
Well-deserved drink at the fountain for Gary Gaetti. Mickey Morandini, 1 for 2, hit into a 6-4-3 double play in the 4th. 1 ball, no strikes. That's a strike, and it's 1-1. The senior producer director of Cubs baseball is Arnie Harris. Today's game produced by the commander, Pete Toma. 2 balls and 1 strike. The producer, associate producer, is Mark Brady, and Kim Fields, coordinating producer. And our executive producer of WGN Sports is Bob Horwald, whom we saw earlier today. Nice pickup by Loretta. And that retires Morandini 1 away.
One of the good names in baseball loosening up in the bullpen, Valerio De Los Santos. And the young man has a very good arm. They like him a lot.
There he is. Scott Service 0 for 2 today. Our director here in the broadcast booth at Wrigley Field, the quote-unquote lovely and talented Kathy Kerr. And I think she's made lovely and talented a part of her name, I believe. If not, Chip Caray certainly has.
Yes, indeed.
1 ball, no strikes. It's in there for a strike call.
They move to the 9th inning. Still no score in San Francisco. And that's a game that the Giants have got to win, as games click down to a precious few in the National League.
Called strike and Service down to the count. 1 ball, 2 strikes. You know, but I tell you, Steve, this is what it's all about for the ball players. Talking to Mark Race of the batting cage this afternoon, and when you're out of the race, these are kind of the dog days, just kind of winding it down. But he's got a lot of life in his bat, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that the Cubs are in contention for a playoff spot. That can make all the difference in the world. And I know you feel this way in your endeavor now in the game, and that is coming to the ballpark now is a lot of fun. It's something you look forward to every day. Service, it's a lazy fly ball to left field. Late start by Jenkins, but he has time to camp under it. And there are 2 men down.
Well, this is why you play this game, and you play all year to get to this point, Wayne. And now it really doesn't matter what's happened before. It doesn't matter if you've had a good year or a bad year. It doesn't matter if you've had a career year or a year you just as soon forget. It essentially boils down to a 14-game season. And that's what it is for the Cubs and the Mets, and to a certain extent San Francisco, as they battle for this wild card. We know the 3 division titles have been decided, but for the wild card contenders, it's a 2-week baseball season, and the team that gets the hottest or gets the key pitching performance, they go to the playoffs, and the other people go home. And that's the way it is.
Dave Stevens allowed to hit with 2 out, nobody on. Stevens, no balls and 2 strikes. Ooh, that curve almost got in there. 1-2.
And that's why you have less patience with starters these days, because of the immediacy of each and every one of these key situations. For Phil Garner, he's looking ahead to next year. For Jim Riggleman, he's looking ahead to next inning.
Swing and a miss by Stevens. The Cubs pick up a couple of runs on the 2-run homer by Gary Gaetti, his 17th home run of the season. Brewers still lead by 5.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is brought to you by Pepsi. Generation Next.
Guess what? Susie Fetterman got sick, so I don't have to be the dumb dinosaur. I get to be the peacock.
Great. Peacock.
Want to get away? Southwest has your ticket to freedom with Southwest Airlines fun fares that begin at $39.
You are now free to move about the country.
Call me impulsive, but there are some things I just can't resist. Like bubble wrap or chocolate chip cookies or racing to pick up the phone, especially that. So when I heard about this new deal on caller ID from Ameritech, well, imagine my reaction. Free display unit, free shipping, free activation. How could I resist?
To take advantage of this irresistible offer on caller ID service, call the Value Hotline now at 1-800-404-1111.
Hey, bubble wrap.
Initiating launch sequence at T-minus 5 seconds and counting. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff. Jack!
Avoid food that causes nappy time with Subway's new Chicken Parmesan Ranch Wrap. Tender chicken topped with peppercorn ranch dressing and a delicious tortilla wrap. Sure to wake up your taste buds. Subway, the way a sandwich should be.
Got it. Launched.
Chicago is waking up to traffic with Robin Baumgarten and Skycam 9. Weekdays 6 to 9 on Chicago's very own WGN Morning News.
Wayne Larrabee, Steve Stone back at Wrigley Field in Chicago. 15 runs, 21 hits. Yesterday, 24 runs, 30 hits between these two teams. And as you can see, still 3 innings to go.
Well, you get the feeling that if Dave Stevens can shut the door on this team, the Cubs will continue to chip away. Yesterday they were down 6. They got as close as 1 run, but the Brewers wouldn't stop scoring. And they put 13 on the board and hung on to 1 by 2. The Cubs are coming back in this one, but it's up to Stevens to close them down right here.
Stevens has gone 3 innings so far, given up a couple of runs. Those coming in the 5th. And a 2-run single by Fernando Vina. Marquise Grissom relatively quiet today.
And De Los Santos still up in the bullpen. They tell us that he is a bright spot in that pen.
Top of the 7th inning in Chicago. Joan Cusack from Evanston, Illinois, will be our guest conductor for the 7th inning stretch. Highly acclaimed actress. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And here's the pitch. Grissom down on strikes. Second strikeout for Stevens here this afternoon. Cubs are trailing 10-5. That's what it looks like from the left field bleachers. Not a bad view of life from there. especially if you're lucky enough to have a libation or two in the sun. Jenkins 2 hits, including a home run. Dave Stevens looks pretty sharp at the moment. 1 out, nobody on. No balls, 2 strikes. WGN has added some games to its schedule down the stretch of this wild card race, and 2 of them in San Diego on September 15th at 9 p.m. and also September 16th at 9:30, and then of course those games in Milwaukee on the 22nd and 23rd. No balls and 2 strikes, the count on Jeff Jenkins. 1-2.
I think maybe we can do away with the curse of the top of the 7th. Joan Cusack looks like she's warmed up and ready to go. She's in the back of our booth, ready to conduct a Take Me Out to the Ball game.
1-2 pitch is inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Her brother John was in the booth earlier in the year, and you might remember him from 8 Men Out, The Grifters, Grosse Pointe Blank, and a number of other films that John has been in.
She's from an acting family, right? Father Richard Cusack appeared in the feature version of The Fugitive. 3 balls, 2 strikes, the count now on Jeff Jenkins. 1 out, nobody on in the top of the 7th. And ball 4, Jenkins is aboard.
Here's a man who's been pretty tough to deal with today, Bobby Hughes. We've got an opportunity to catch, and he's made the most of it. He's scored 2 runs, been on 3 times, and he's homered.
Single and homer, both in the 3rd inning, when the Brewers sent 11 men to the plate and really broke this game open with 8 runs. And then Hughes, as Steve mentioned, walked in the 5th inning. Dave Stevens working his 4th inning in relief of Mike Morgan and Phil Regan out to the mound. Meanwhile, Felix Heredia back up in the bullpen.
Well, I think he wants to kill a little time depending on who comes out as a pinch hitter. You want to make sure that Heredia is loosened up if Phil Garner does go to the left-hander. And at this point, with expanded rosters, you have a full bench full of players. You can choose from just about anyone. You don't have to worry about running out. And when you talk about pinch hitters, you have them up and down your bench. A lot of people, Wayne, want to try to do something about that. You have a 40-man roster and you play with a rules where you have 25 all year long. Now you come to the point where there really is either a pennant push, you either try for a division title or a wild card, and all of a sudden you have 40 men at your disposal. And it makes for a much different type of September to manage.
Hughes swings and fouls it back for strike 1. Well, it does skew things a little bit. I mean, you know, you do have more options available to you.
You have many more in your bullpen. You have many more on your bench. And where you have to be careful through the first 5 months of the season not to run out of players. If you go into extra innings, you don't have to worry about that quite as much. So it becomes a whole different scenario if you're managing in the month of September when they expand the rosters.
The 0-1 delivery. Good high fastball and a wave and a miss. No balls and 2 strikes. Top of the 7th inning. It's 10-5. If you've just joined us, Milwaukee put an 8th spot on the board in the 3rd inning. Infield at double play depth. Hughes has banged into 3 ground ball double plays this year, but he swings and misses for strike 3 here.
I think it's going to be Bob Hamlin that's going to come on to pinch hit, and the question then for Jim Riggleman is, do you go away from Stevens? As a good inside fastball thrown right by Hughes, and there is Hamlin hitting .218, but 10 for 45 with 4 home runs and 6 driven in as a pinch hitter. So this is their one man off the bench that can really provide some power for you.
And he hit that 4th pinch hit home run August 23rd against San Diego. And that sets the franchise record for pinch hit homers. 1 ball, no strikes. Two out, 1 on. We'll see De Los Santos coming up in the bottom of the 7th inning on the mound. 1 ball, 1 strike. Strong performance for the most part by Rafael Roque. Bob Hamlin in a pinch hitting role for the pitcher.
6 innings, 5 runs on 9 hits for Roque, so he is very fortunate today that his offense came to life.
Cubs hit him with 2 runs in the 2nd and another run of the 5th, and then 2 more in the 6th. Kind of chipped away at him. And at times he looked pretty impressive, though, Steve.
Well, that pencils out to about an 8-point ERA.
Yeah,
Usually that's not going to get you too much in this league. But when your team puts 10 up on the board, it's okay.
Past Grace down the right field line. Turning second, heading to third, Jenkins. And they're going to hold him up there. Into second base, Bob Hamlin with a stand-up double. And Jenkins now coming to score.
Boy, bad play by Sammy. He just picked up the ball, and instead of throwing it in, he had held him up at third base. All Sammy had to do was pick up the ball and throw it home. He didn't pick it up. He kind of flipped it to Mark Grace. As soon as Jenkins saw that, he just took off, and there was no chance then to make the play at the plate, and that could turn out to be a costly run.
And out to the mound, Jim Riggleman. He'll make a pitching change here. Felix Heredia will come on for the Cubs. Take a look at it again.
And Sammy gets it. Now all he's got to do is get rid of it, but he stops. And then he flips the ball, and as soon as you see that rainbow arc, if you're the base runner, that's when you take off. He had stopped. He sees the rainbow arc of the throw, and he takes off and scores. Just a real bad play by Sammy.
11-5, Milwaukee on top, and we'll be back to tell you about Felix Heredia after this timeout.
This gentleman got the door for 42 people. ComEd, what do you do with your power?
I want to get close to you. With my sure shot zoom, it's fun to do. From across the room, I just zoom and you come shining through.
Get your shot with a sure shot zoom, like the 105.
There's no way I'll miss a shot like this. What a lovely close-up view. I want to get close to you.
Get one of the sure shot zooms from Canon.
Back at Wrigley Field in Chicago, the Cubs have called on Felix Heredia. Heredia to face Fernando Vina at the top of the order for the Brewers.
And overall, Felix is 2-3. ERA 5.50. 61st appearance. Yesterday he came in for 2/3 of an inning, wasn't charged with any runs. He gave up 2 hits, and they both were RBI base hits. So he inherits a base runner at second base. It's a pinch runner for Hamlin. And Fernando Vina will step in to face Felix Heredia. It's a base hit and an error charge to Sammy on that last play.
Ronnie Belliard, who has just been called up, is pinch running for Hammond. Vina wave and a miss. Heredia's job is to get out the left-handed hitter. Crowd has not had a lot to cheer about here today at Wrigley Field. was a strike. No balls and 2 strikes on Vigna. But they're all here because Sammy Sosa is going to get up again. No balls and 2 strikes. Top of the 7th inning. The Brewers now leading this ball game 11-5. One and 2. Belliard, the pinch runner at second base. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Base hit right field. Belliard being waved in. Here comes the throw from Sosa, cut off by Grace. Play at second base, and they've got the hitter in a rundown, and Vigna is tagged out, but the run scores. So the Brewers add 2 more to their total here in the 7th inning on a couple of base hits. And in the middle of the 7th, Milwaukee has extended its advantage to 12-5. And our guest conductor for the 7th inning stretch, Miss Joan Cusack.
In Murray, Utah, a lot of folks like to work on their cars themselves, and they come to AutoZone because they know they'll find quality parts, low prices, great selection, and helpful people like Rick Perry. Now, Rick's been around cars all his life, so he knows a thing or two about looking up parts and solving problems. And whether it's selling new parts or testing old ones, he's always glad to help. You see, when it comes to getting the right part, the right price, and good advice, there's just no place better than AutoZone.
A lot of industry experts told us that the passenger side was the best place to add a third door. We got still more advice insisting that the driver's side was the only logical choice. But as you can see, we let it all go right in one ear and out the other. Introducing the new Dodge Ram Quad Cab. The rules have changed.
If a Cub player hits a homer today, write down the distance and player's name and send it to WGN. You could win tickets to any Southwest Airlines destination.
Back at Wrigley Field in Chicago, Joan Cusack has joined us. A fine rendition of the 7th inning stretch. Welcome. That was great. Did you enjoy it?
That was really fun.
You looked a little nervous before you went on.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised because of your,
for my professional demeanor.
Professional demeanor,
I lost it there. Well, it's not often you get to do this kind of great. This is an incredible view. This is just incredible out here.
And we get to enjoy it every day. Some days more enjoyable than others. This one hasn't been great so far, but you never know about the late innings.
Yeah.
Lance Johnson leading it off for the Cubs. 0 for 3 here this afternoon.
And it's Valerio de los Santos in the game, on for the 9th time, a 1.59 ERA, but he's fallen behind Lance.
3 balls and no strikes.
Besides becoming a mother, what is your latest project?
Well, I actually just finished doing a movie that Tim Robbins directed in New York that took place in the 30s, which was kind of neat. And I'm actually working on a television show that I could do here in Chicago and stay home with my son and my husband. And
that would be great.
Yeah, and really do a kind of a great show. I think if it's hard to get a great TV show right, but if you can do it, it's a really rewarding job, I think.
Have you made the pilot yet?
No, we're working on that. So, yeah, it's exciting.
Jose Hernandez, the hitter. Hernandez homered his last trip to the plate. Lance Johnson aboard with nobody out. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning and visiting with Joan Cusack, our guest conductor here today. What type of show will it be? Will it be a situation comedy?
Yeah, a sitcom.
Sitcom, that'd be great.
Yeah. No, I grew up watching, you know, Mary Hartman, Fernwood Tonight, and, you know, All in the Family, and they're just some great shows. Bob Newhart Show. I love those shows.
And with the amazing thing is with like Nickelodeon TV, my kids watch the same shows I grew up watching in the 60s and early 70s.
It's amazing.
We've seen you in all types of roles. Is comedy your favorite, or is that just what people expect of you?
I have a great time doing comedies, mostly because you get to be around other funny people, and that just makes the job fun, right?
Jose Hernandez extending the strike zone there, swings at ball 1 and misses for strike 3. 1 out for Grace. Joan, is there one project that you took part in that you really enjoyed more than any other?
Let's see. I don't know. You know, they're all they take such a long time to do a movie. You know, you do it for maybe 3 or 4 months, and it's always interesting because, you know, for everyone else it's 2 hours, but it's your 4 months of life. So they always have a different kind of feel because everyone's different. I really enjoyed the process of all of them. I know that's sort of not very specific, but I love my job. It's really great. They've all been really fun. It's such an honor to get to do them, you know.
Well, you know, I tell you, the situation comedy is one thing. When you're doing a show every single week, you have new lines to memorize, new situations to be in. A movie, I guess you kind of attack in a different way, don't you?
Yeah. It's a real beginning, middle, and an end, and then that's it.
Well, you've got your father, you have 2 brothers. You're also in the film business, and we've seen John quite a bit. What's he doing these days?
John is actually up in Calgary making a movie that my dad wrote, a Western. So it's really fun for our whole family. And he just finished another movie, and he's actually going to come here in February and do another one that Stephen Frears is going to direct. And he worked with him before on The Grifters, so that should be fun.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, and John, of course, loves Chicago as much as I do, so it'll be great to have him around.
3-1 to Grace. Dumps it into left center field. Base hit to the wall. Lance Johnson held up at third. Grace pulls into second base. His 35th double of the season. 1 out, runners on second and third for the Cubs, who are trailing in this game 12-5.
Well, regardless of what this pitching staff does, this offense continues to go down, or refuses to go down quietly. And Mark Grace, after the walk, with a double, and then leaves it up to Sammy Sosa and sends Don Rowe to the mound once again.
Trying to settle down Valerio de los Santos.
Well, I'm sure your most challenging role is the one that you currently are involved in, and that is of a mom.
That's right.
And how is that?
It's great. It's so great. It's the ordinary things in life that are really the most kind of extraordinary, aren't they? Really, it's so wonderful. I love it. It's hard, but it's fun.
Here's Sammy Sosa. He has walked twice and lined to left field in the 5th. And out in the bleachers, they're still bathed in sun and shading the eyes so that if Sammy hits a shot in their direction, they could see it. 1 ball, no strikes.
And because they've thrown so many pitches to Sammy today out of the strike zone, the fans just booing every errant pitch.
Runners at second and third. pitch to his liking up in the zone and just missed. Fouled it back against the screen. Till he hit the home run yesterday. Sosa had gone 5 consecutive games without a home run for the first time since mid-July. Trying to hit homers in back-to-back games here. The 1-1. 2 balls and 1 strike. Well, Joan, have you gotten caught up in this home run derby?
Yeah, it's so exciting. It was so fun before the game. We went down there. I wanted to see if I could meet him.
Popped it up foul. Back behind us and out of play. 2-2. These ladies are concerned about the scoreboard and the prospects of Sammy Sosa at this at bat.
Well, they're hoping that Sammy gets a pitch out over the plate, because on a day with the wind blowing out, he doesn't have to get all of it. He just has to get some of it.
2-2. Checked his swing just barely. Full count of 3-2.
I don't think you're going to get an appeal on this. I think at this point, like the referees swallowing their whistle in hockey and basketball late in the game, you're not going to get an appeal play on a 3rd strike.
Full count. Crowd comes to their feet. Chopped it foul. He'll do it again.
So exciting.
A little drama here, right?
Yeah.
Not so much the scoreboard, but everyone waiting for Sammy and hoping that he'll hit his 60th here today. And across the street, they're ready. That's a look at Wayland Avenue. Once again, Sammy had a pitch he thought he could handle and fouled it back. Well, I'll tell you, have a player like Sammy Sosa. The score is 12-5, and everybody's still in the ballpark. To see him hit one more time, as a matter of fact, they are on their feet. Deep to left field. Gone! Number 60, Sammy Sosa.
That was great.
Across the street, they're going after it. Sammy Sosa joining McGuire, Maris, and Roth as the only hitters ever to get 60 home runs or more in a season. Call for a great performer. Number 60 for Sammy Sosa, a 3-run shot.
That was a 3-2 changeup, and Sammy just waited for it after fouling 2 straight back to the screen and crushed it out of the ballpark onto Waveland. He's driven in 145, and the Cubs trying to claw their way back into this, but Sammy has hit number 60. Joining Wayne may be the smallest club in all of sports.
Yeah.
Guys who have hit as many as 60 home runs in 1 year, and those who have conceded the home run race to Mark McGuire, there's a long way to go, and here comes Sammy. He's only 2 back.
Big Mac did not homer today, struck out 3 times in Houston. He has 62. Maris hit 61. Sosa's at 60, tied with Babe Ruth. How about that?
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Meanwhile, back at the plate, Glenn Allen Hill in utter obscurity with a 2-ball and 2-strike count. Arnie Harris, our producer-director, tells us the ball went through the front door of that house, the John Cougar Mellencamp Memorial House across the street at Waveland Avenue.
Well, let's hope that
the pink house.
Whoever does get it, that someone returns it to Sammy.
There's the door.
Boy, did he crush that one.
I was here on a Saturday night, Joan, when Sammy hit one to the, well, right off of that house. Actually hit it to the balcony of that house out there earlier this season. My goodness. That's why everybody stayed in the ballpark for the rest of this game.
That was so exciting.
Way back in left. Goodbye. Glenn Allen Hill to Waveland Avenue and beyond. And here come the Cubs.
Well, we told you this offense will not let this team die. And Valerio de los Santos has gotten shell-shocked here in the 7th inning. So the bullpen up and scrambling as the Cubs keep pounding away, trying to overcome their pitching staff.
Double barrel action down the right field line in the bullpen as Glenn Allen Hill high-fives his 6th home run in a Chicago Cubs uniform this season.
The Cubs just 3 back. It's 12-9. There's only 1 out here in the 7th.
And Gary Gaetti, a single and homer here this afternoon. Don't go anywhere. Take a look at history in the making. Sammy Sosa moments ago. Watch this.
It's a changeup on 3-2. And Sammy knows it's gone when it left the bat. Takes the familiar hop after he makes contact. And number 60 is in the books.
How many other people have hit 60?
Wow. Here he is. He got it. That youngster got it. Wow. No balls and 2 strikes on Gary Gaetti. Called strike 3. De Los Santos has struck out 2 Cubs in this inning, but between those 2 strikeouts, a double by Grace, 3-run homer Sosa, solo home run Glenn Allen Hill. Watch this again. There's the changeup, Steve. You're right. He stayed right back on it and extended it. A rocket.
It just was hit too hard to go foul. And then the scramble was on for number 60. As the young man scrambles for the souvenir, and let's hope that Sammy gets it back. His 60th home run. My.
Dini to Loretta. Inning is over. A big inning for the Cubs. 4 on the board. Sosa's 60th. Glenn Allen Hill homered as well. And the Cubs climb back into this ball game at the end of 7 innings.
On the next episode of Nightman, the fight between good and evil, justice and tyranny, life and death. The battle may never be the same.
You are dead.
Next, Nightman.
Sunday night at 10:30 on WGN.
I like to say we don't make anything, we make everything. We've got parts in airplanes, in surgical tools. This is 18 cents of plastic, but a $20,000 car won't start without it. Things people don't think about. a faucet valve or a light switch. Somebody made that. I don't need to have my name stamped on it. It's on the door.
It's your life's work. Does your bank understand that?
Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelopes roam.
This man entertained his wife for 20 minutes.
Oh, son of a Romeo.
ComEd, what do you do with your power?
Next up, diversity.
Nobody does it like you.
To deep clean your carpet and upholstery, you can get a Hoover Steam Vac Ultra and pay once. Or pay these guys
Nobody
every time.
does it like you.
Larry and Roseanne on Chicago's very own WGN News at Noon.
Sammy Sosa helps to get the Cubs back into the ball game. And hit number 60. Felix Uridia pitching now to Mark Loretta. And there's a strike called. Take a look at this. How about that? Sammy Sosa on the same page and listed ahead of Babe Ruth. One ball, one strike.
I got to tell you, obviously it's well deserved, and there was a lot of hoopla when Mark McGwire did break Roger Maris's record, but there is a long way to go. And Sammy, as you know, has always hit home runs in bunches. Well, he's hit 2 in 2 days, and we've got 4 in San Diego, where Sammy has always hit well in a pitching staff that he matches up very well against, and a park that is a home run park. So Sammy is far from done, and you got to believe that he's going to wind up probably in the mid-60s. And if Big Mac doesn't turn it on, he will get passed.
Base hit up the middle, Mark Loretta. So the Brewers serve notice that they may not be done yet here today.
Felix has always had little problems with the right-handers. He's faced 2 hitters. There's been 2 base hits, but they cut down Vini in a rundown to get out of the 7th. So now the bullpen up and going once again, and it's the ever-present and very dependable Terry Mulholland, who has been the one man out of that pen over the last couple of days, who has gotten some people out. And he went 2 1/3 of perfect baseball yesterday, and they're probably going to call on him here today.
Left-hand hitting, Dave Nielsen. Strike 1 called. In 1 week on WGN, we have seen, chronicled by you and Chip and Arnie Harris and his crew, home runs number 60 for Sosa, and of course 62 for McGwire. Wow, what a week. 61 and 62 for McGwire. Chop foul on the first base side. My goodness, what a week it's been.
What a season it's been when you consider all that's happened and the great stories in baseball. The New York Yankees and their dominance. Kerry Wood bursting on the scene, one of the great arms to come up in many, many years. The home run chase between McGwire and Sammy Sosa. It's been a resurgent year and a renaissance year for baseball, and we still have a wild card race to go here on the north side. So things very exciting around the ballpark on a daily basis.
And if you're talking baseball in general, a wild card developing a wild card race in the American League, as well as Toronto closes in on Boston. Toronto beat the Yankees today 5-3.
It's going to be a little tough on those boys because they do. And I'm talking about the Red Sox, send Pedro Martinez to the mound, and he's hard to beat. And that's a very happy Sosa family. The brothers of Sammy Sosa, this game being broadcast live back to the Dominican Republic via the radio waves, and they're doing it. And they made a long trip and certainly were rewarded. And I talked to those folks before the game, and they're just happy to be here. They're very nice people, and they've done a great job. And there is the flag of the Dominican Republic. I'm sure that if Sammy wasn't the biggest citizen before this season, he certainly is now. Len Allen Hill hitting a home run. That was the second of the back-to-back homers. And it was a bomb. And how far did it fly for Southwest Airlines? 435 very happy feet.
Ecstatic feet. No, those feet
Long
were for
feet.
Sammy's that ran up the steps of the house across the way. What did Chip call that the other day? The John Cougar Mellencamp Memorial House?
The little pink house.
Oh, my. Let's take it outside for ball one. Jeff Cirillo, the hitter. He's been busy. Key now is for Heredia to retire the Brewers without incident here in the 8th. And then for the Cubs to tack on a couple of more to really tighten things up here on the north side. 1 ball, no strikes. High gas and a swing and the miss. Well, I mentioned the wild card in the East, or in the American League. Boston is trailing Detroit 4-1. That game in the bottom of the 9th at Boston. Toronto won today, so they could close within 4 games of the Red Sox.
Things getting a little bit tighter, and the folks in Boston who are used to late season woes probably just a touch nervous.
The old town team may be doing the old fold again. They've done it as much as anyone in baseball.
I got to believe they're going to hang on this year, though.
1-1 delivery. On the ground, Jose Hernandez. To Morandini, to Grace, and the inning is over. Taylor made 6-4-3. Heading to the bottom of the 8th inning. Sammy Sosa, will he get another at bat? We hope so. The Cubs are trailing at 12-9.
Guess what? Susie Fetterman got sick, so I don't have to be the dumb dinosaur. I get to be the peacock.
Great. Peacock.
Want to get away? Southwest has your ticket to freedom with Southwest Airlines fun fares that begin at $39.
You are now free to move about the country.
Both these men have athlete's foot. But only one used Desinex, the soothing cure. Desinex has a dual-action formula that calms the itching and cools the burning. And Desinex is clinically proven to kill the fungus dead, so your feet feel good while they heal. Got athlete's foot? Get dual-action Desinex. Soothes while it cures.
A participating advertiser in Cubs baseball is CarQuest, supplying over 130,000 top quality parts. Call 1-800-492-PART for the nearest location.
Maternity, Dr. Weiner.
Doc, we're on our way. I'm fine, but my husband's not breathing.
Tell him, breathe in, breathe out.
There's a new cellular service from Ameritech that's so clear, it's like you're there.
Another dad down in the waiting room.
Give him some air.
See you soon.
Thanks, Doc.
Virtually no static or interference. Clear path, so clear, it's like you're there.
Now get a free phone and 300 minutes for only $45.
Steve and Allison. Weeknights on Chicago's very own WGN News at 9.
Don't cool that man off. Sammy Sosa electrifies the crowd here on the north side of Chicago with home run number 60.
Looks like a 3-2 changeup, and Sammy knows it's gone when it left the bat. And for Southwest Airlines, how far does it fly? 430 historic feet.
And now this is the reaction as the ball comes over. Watch the chase. Here's the real home run chase going on right now. And right up the steps of the little pink house.
And taking your life in your hands, they're looking for it. One guy can't find it. Oh, they're getting showered with some ice, and there's the man who's got the souvenir.
He climbed the steps to get that one.
And he wasn't the first guy that got in, but he was the guy that went to the right spot.
Well, I'll tell you, our camera guy risked his life too. Tyler Houston way back to way like at Sheffield Avenue. Tyler Houston with a solo home run off Chad Fox. And things have tightened considerably. It's 12-10 Milwaukee.
This offense just keeps coming and coming. And Tyler Houston has hit his 8th home run, his 30th driven in, and the Cubs trail by just 2. So the bullpen for the Brewers having some problems also. And now it's Brant Brown as he comes on to pinch hit.
5 home runs by the Cubs. Houston hits one to Sheffield Avenue. And pitch taken up high for ball 1.
Watch it again as Tyler Houston looks for a first ball fastball, gets it up and out over the plate and crushes it on to Sheffield. And for Southwest Airlines, it went a ton.
Okay. A lot of happy feet on that one. Brent Brown the hitter, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike on Brownie.
Chad Fox 0-3 on for the 43rd time. And he was greeted rather rudely by Tyler Houston.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Brown 6 for 17 with 4 runs batted in as pinch hitter this year.
San Francisco has gone down to defeat 1-0 at the hands of Colorado.
The 2-2. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, the Cubs have trailed by what, as many as 7 runs in this game here today.
They trailed by 6 runs once.
8 runs actually. 10-2 at one point. Bounding ball up the middle. Valentin in time to get Brant Brown hustling down the first base line.
Jose Valentin has gone in at shortstop with Mark Loretta shifting over to first base when Chad Fox came into the game, and a good play by Valentin to retire Brown. But the Cubs trail by only 2. And they have 5 outs to go, and the way this one has gone, a lot like yesterday's ball game. Stay tuned, folks, because Sammy will get up one more time and anything can happen.
Lance Johnson looks at a strike 1 call to the outside corner. And Lance walked. He scored. 1-1. Chad Fox is the 3rd pitcher for Milwaukee here this afternoon. Boy, have these 2 teams put on an offensive showing in these 2 games this week. I mentioned 24 runs, 30 hits yesterday, and here today, my goodness.
Bueno with the wind blowing out here, and a couple of pitching staffs that have had their problems at times, turns into offensive extravaganzas.
To center field, Grissom on his horse, drifting to the warning track, and makes the catch. There are 2 men down. Lance gave it a ride, but Grissom able to make the play.
Jose Hernandez, one of the home run hitters, hit his back in the 5th inning, and that really started the comeback for the Cubs.
Well, I tell you what, we showed you and chronicled the chase for the home run ball hit by Sammy Sosa. Now here's what happened afterwards.
Seeing Sammy or giving it to him or anything like that? Or?
I think we'll hold on to it. One out.
Who's this 60
You can call us.
Here.
Give me your card. We'll call you.
Call me. Call me. Here.
Definitely.
I know he wanted number 59 yesterday.
Now comes the opportunity.
Let me get out of here.
That's fine. Go.
Well, it's Monty Hall, and let's make a deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
My goodness. Now the real negotiation begins. Oh my. Sammy Sosa joining McGuire, Maris, and Ruth as the only men in Major League history to hit 60 or more home runs. Jose Hernandez has a home run, his 22nd of the season.
And this is game 149 for the Cubs.
Are you saying there will not be an asterisk by this mark?
Nor McGuire's.
3 balls and 1 strike on Jose Hernandez.
And you've got Mark Grace and then Sammy Sosa. If Jose can keep it alive, and in just a year of tremendous highlights for Sammy Sosa, number 60 was one of the best. And seeing as we have a long way to go, I got to believe that there's a few more historic moments for Sammy, as he's just 2 back of Mark McGuire.
Once again, McGuire 0 for 3 in the Astrodome today as the Astros edge the Cardinals 3-2. Cincinnati beat Arizona 3-0, and the Giants fell to Colorado 1-0. Right here, the Cubs are down by 2, 12-10. Let's pause for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN, Chicago.
Back at beautiful Wrigley Field in Chicago in the late afternoon, Wayne Larrabee and Steve Stone. Jose Hernandez hits a pop fly foul on the first base side out of play. The count remains full to 3-2. These two teams today have combined for 22 runs, 28 hits. Yesterday, as I mentioned, 24 runs on 30 hits. So if you've had the good fortune of being here at Wrigley Field in the last 2 games. And that's a base hit under the glove of the diving Jeff Cirillo into left field. So 2-out single by Jose Hernandez, and the Cubs may not be done yet in the 8th inning.
And don't go away, folks. If Mark Grace can keep it alive, and he's 2 for 4 today, Sammy is in the on-deck circle, and they are starting to stir in the bullpen for the Brewers. It was Bob Wickman who came on late yesterday. He is the closer. I assume they're going to heat him up. And with the wind blowing out, Mark Grace looking for his 16th home run.
1 ball, no strikes. Fans here at Wrigley Field want to see Gracie get aboard any way he can. If they walk him, that's just fine, because this man's coming up next. Against Fox, his 1 hit is a home run. And now out to the mound once again is Don Rowe. He takes a very slow, deliberate pace to the mound.
Don Rowe has been to the mound a whole lot today. He might be thinking about making a comeback on the mound as Rod Beck starts to loosen up for the Cubs. Don Rowe giving his bullpen a chance to get loose. It looks like Wickman. And there is the shooter, Rod Beck. In his own right, a remarkable year for Rod. 46 saves this year. Next appearance will be number 72. As Beck is one of the reasons why the Cubs are in this wild card hunt. He's had just a magnificent season.
Tying run is at the plate. Go ahead run is on deck. 2 men down. 1 ball, no strikes, the count on Mark Grace. Chad Fox to the belt. 2-0.
Well, I gotta believe if Mark keeps it alive, you'll probably see Wickman against Sosa.
That's a strike, and it's 2-1. Well, the Cubs have had many comeback victories this season. If they were able to come all the way back and win this one, it certainly would be memorable.
Well, they've come back twice from 6 runs down to win games, both of them on the road. Yesterday they were 6 back. They closed within 1. Today they've been further back than that, and they've closed within 2.
Fouled it back to even the count at 2-2.
They were 8 runs down heading into the bottom of the 5th inning, and they send the tying run to the plate in the person of Mark Grace.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. I don't think Jose Hernandez is looking to steal second base in this situation here.
No, and I think that you can pretty much take it to the bank that he's not going to get picked off, because he could fall back on top of the bag.
Yeah. Grace chops it at the plate. Up with it is Fox, and his play in time to Loretta. But stay with us. Don't go away. The Cubs pick up a run in the 8th inning on the home run by Tyler Houston. And that man, Sammy Sosa, who just hit his 60th home run, will bat in the bottom of the 9th to lead it off for the Cubs, who trail by 2 as we go to the 9th.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is brought to you by Southwest Airlines, offering low fares and frequent flights. Southwest Airlines, the official airline of the Chicago Cubs.
In the world of tools, there's only one true craftsman. Craftsman makes anything possible.
Oh, yeah.
Join Cubs players, coaches, and broadcasters for the 14th Annual Cubs Convention, January 15th through the 17th at the Chicago Hilton and Towers, sponsored by Pepsi-Cola. Enjoy autograph and photo sessions, hitting and pitching clinics, special events just for kids, and much more. It's the greatest off-season event in all of baseball. For more information, call the Cubs Convention hotline at 773-404-CUBS. Or to reserve your room at the Hilton, call 312-922-4400.
Look inside a new Dodge Ram conversion van, and you'll find a virtual home on wheels. But take away features like the video system, captain's chairs, and plush interior, and you'll find the remarkable new Dodge Ram van with a more powerful Magnum V8 and strong unibody construction. After all, even a home on wheels should be built on a solid foundation. And with $1,500 cash back, you can start construction right away. See the friendly Dodge dealer near you.
Get the inside scoop on today's brightest stars. Shannon Doherty and Josh Jackson host 17, The Faces for Fall. Sunday at 5 on WGN.
Top of the ninth inning. It's been a wild one at Wrigley Field. The Cubs have been on the comeback trail since giving up 8 runs in the third inning, and they're ready with the number for Sosa, 61, to tie Roger Maris and move to within 1 of Big Mac. Meanwhile, some business at the top of the inning to finish off. Terry Mulholland facing Jeremy Burnitz. Burnitz, a 2-run homer in the third inning. 2 hits here today.
Mulholland on for the 65th time, 4-5 with a 2.60 ERA. Through 2 1/3 innings of perfect baseball yesterday, and it continues here today.
Burnitz retired for the 3rd time since hitting that 2-run homer in the third. 1 away.
And it will be Sosa, Hill, and Gaetti in the Cub bottom of the 9th inning. And it looks like Bob Wickman will be the hurler for the bottom of the 9th.
This game began at 3:05. It's about 3 hours old right now. Pitch is inside for ball 1 to Marquise Grissom.
Rod Beck loosening up in the pen just in case.
And no one has left this ballpark.
Not many. Sammy's got that leadoff at bat in the 9th.
1-0 pitch dumped into right field, but Sosa is there, and he makes the catch. 2 away.
From the Southwest Airlines Plainview camera, we'll take a look and zoom right in to where Sammy Sosa hit his 60th home run. And there is a Southwest Airlines Plainview camera high atop Wrigley Field. So Mark Newfield will come on now to pinch hit for Jeff Jenkins.
Newfield overall a 236 with 7 doubles, no triples, 3 homers, and 25 runs batted in. But as a pinch hitter, 11 for 35 with a homer and 7 knocked in.
And here comes Jim Riggleman. It's like he's going to make a change, maybe a flip-flop of the batting order, as he talks it over with Jerry Crawford. And it's probably going to...
It's like a double switch, obviously.
You're going to double switch, and it looks like Manny Alexander coming in. And let's see whose place he's going to take. Jose Hernandez will leave the ball game.
We'll be back with more after these messages.
John Lithgow performs the Discover Card Dial-Along song.
An extemporaneous piece.
Provided for your dialing pleasure while you call 1-800-IT-PAYS-2 and apply for your Discover Card, the card with the cashback bonus award that always pays you back.
That was a nice surprise.
And that's music to everyone's ears. It pays to Discover. To apply, call 1-800-IT-PAYS-2. Accepted where you see the Novus sign.
race is heating up. Step up to the plate and play the Pepsi Major League Baseball Home Run Countdown. Go to in-store Pepsi displays, fill out an entry form, and if you guess the 98 Home Run Champions total, you'll be entered to win a trip for 4 to this year's World Series.
Manny Alexander moves to shortstop in place of Jose Hernandez. Alexander, however, will bat in the number 9 spot, and the new pitcher is Rod Beck, and he would be hitting in place of Jose Hernandez, who left the ball game.
And Rod Beck on for the 72nd time, and he's not coming on to close this one down. He's coming on to keep it close and give the offense a chance in the bottom of the 9th. So he's 1-2 with a 3.06 ERA, and he will face Mark Newfield.
12-10, Brewers on top. They picked up 8 runs in the 3rd inning off Mike Morgan. 2 more in the 5th. 2 more in the 7th inning. And the Cubs have been coming back ever since. Another good job by Terry Mulholland. 2/3 of an inning. Retired the 2 batters he faced, Burnitz and Grissom.
And the Cubs have scored in each of the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th innings. And they put 8 runs on the board in those 4 innings to get within 2. And Phil Garner knows there's still a lot of work to be done before he can put this one in the win column.
Pitch to Newfield is in there for a strike call from Rod Beck. Well, I tell you what, when the Brewers led by the score of 10-2, you never thought we'd have time for a shooter this afternoon, but we do. Pounding ball deep short. Alexander have to hustle his throw. 2 Grace gets by him. Newfield is aboard. I imagine they'll call that an infield base hit.
That is going to be a base hit. And a good effort by Manny. He thought he should have had him, and had this one stayed in the air, he would have. But that's a tough play. You're going into the hole, and you've got to pour it across. And Mark Grace couldn't pick it.
The Ameritech play that makes a difference. Take a look at it.
It's a pinch home run by Tyler Houston as he comes off the bench hitting for Scott Service. Picks on a first ball fastball, and he gets the Cubs within 2 runs. And that is your Ameritech playbook, the play that's made the difference. And now they're going to pinch run for Newfield.
Coming on to pinch run is Darren Jackson.
Former Cub Darren Jackson. And he comes on to pinch run. So you've got to watch him carefully. Although he's stolen only 1 base, this is a base running situation.
2 out, 1 on, and a wave and a miss by Bobby Hughes. Hughes has been on base 3 times in 4 plate appearances, including a single and homer. He has scored 3 times in this game here today. There's a strike. No balls and 2 strikes. So the Cubs 1 strike away from getting out of this inning and going to the bottom of the 9th, trailing by just 2.
Good idea by Rod Beck, because 0-2 is a good pitch to run, especially if you're expecting something down in the dirt. I would go to a fastball head high to Hughes. I think you can throw it by him.
Good lead by Darren Jackson off of first. Inside fastball, and it's 1-2. Didn't miss by much. Sammy will lead off the bottom of the 9th, and that's why 39,160 are still in the house.
You look around, Wayne, I can't see an empty seat.
No. There's the pitch in the dirt to even the count of 2-2. How about this?
Everybody who came to see this game has been treated to a lot of offensive fireworks. 5 Cub home runs, and the most important, number 60 by the man you're looking at.
2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 out. Runner going. Wave and a miss. Strike 3. The shooter does his job. Strikes out Hughes to end the inning. No runs, a base hit, no errors. The Brewers leave a man. Sosa, Hill, and Gaetti for the Cubs, down by 2 as we go to the last half of the 9th.
Plus, your school, your sports, your way. Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. on WGN.
We have the how-to clinics where we show the customer how to do the project themselves.
After doing it for the first time, they feel a lot more comfortable with it.
They get involved, they get pumped.
We even have kids workshops where kids learn to build just like their parents.
They want to learn it, and you're going to teach them.
And to have people go home and do that and come back and say, boy, that was a lot easier than you even made it seem.
Dress your windows with a wide variety of level or window treatments. You can even custom order styles like cellular shades and wood blinds. Choose a style that's right for you at the Home Depot.
Yahoo?
Wayne Larrabee, Steve Stone back at Wrigley Field in Chicago, where things have tightened considerably and gotten very dramatic. Sammy Sosa, yeah, I want to be like Sammy and Big Mac. Look at this. Here he comes, Sammy Sosa. His last trip to the plate, hit home run at number 60. And that's the report going back to the Dominican.
Bob Wickman comes on. 6 and 8, 3.19 ERA, on for the 69th time. Yesterday, he recorded save number 23. He's looking for 24 today. But Sammy, Glenn Allen Hill, Gary Gaetti standing in the way.
Bob Wickman is on for the Brewers, the fourth pitcher for Phil Garner here this afternoon. A shot into left field, a base hit for Sammy Sosa. A leadoff single in the bottom of the ninth inning brings the tying run to the plate in the person of Glenn Allen Hill.
Yesterday, Wickman pitched an inning and a third. He gave up a run on 2 hits and he walked 1. So he was less than untouchable yesterday. And now with that base hit, the tying run comes to the plate in the person of Glenn Allen Hill, who's got 3 hits today.
A single he scored in the second. He flied to right field in the third, singled and scored in the sixth, then hit a home run in the 7th inning. A solo shot following Sammy Sosa's 60th home run of the season. 1 ball, no strikes on Glenn Allen Hill. The 1-0 pitch, and that's a base hit center field. Sosa turns second. He holds there. The tying run's aboard, and the potential game-winning run comes to the plate in the person of Gary Gaetti.
This would be the biggest comeback of the year if the Cubs can complete it. They were 8 runs down as they headed into the bottom of the 5th inning. Now they have the game on the bases and the winning run at bat.
Gaetti is 2 for 4, including a 2-run homer in the 6th. Even after Sammy Sosa singled, no one has left the ballpark, because what's really important is what the Cubs are able to do in the wild card race. And they've got a chance to win this game and move a half game up on the Mets. Two on, nobody out. Gaetti bunting on the first base side. Up with it, Loretta plays to the second baseman, Vigna covering. Sacrificed by Gaetti, moves the runners to second and third. One out for Mickey Morandini.
Mickey has already singled home 2 runs, giving him a career-high 50. That came all the way back in the 2nd inning. And since then, he's played Pepper with the shortstop. So they're going to concede the run in the infield. Another base hit here, and the game is tied.
Tying runs in scoring position. Wickman to Morandini. 1 ball, no strikes. Sosa at third, Glenn Allen Hill at second base. 1 out. Inside ball 2. Tyler Houston, who homered in his only plate appearance of the afternoon, is on deck. Morandini 7 home runs this season. The 2-0 pitch. 3 balls and no strikes. This big crowd near 40,000, 39,000 plus on hand. The bullpen not stirring. It's all in the hands of Bob Wickman as far as Milwaukee's concerned. 3 balls, no strikes. That's a strike. 3-1.
Jeremy Burnitz has a great arm in right field.
Glenn Allenhill, the tying run at second base. 3-1 pitch. On the ground, a first base side foul. It's off his foot.
And Mickey's done that a lot lately, and that had to really hurt. Fortunately, it was off his foot because it rolled right at Loretta.
No doubt about that. Full count, 3-2. What a day this has been at Wrigley Field. Here it is. Just barely stayed alive. Hill back to second. Sosa's over at third. Still 3 balls and 2 strikes on Mickey Morandini.
If they come back and win this one, it'll be the biggest comeback win of the year. And one of the biggest that I can remember since that 9-run comeback against the Astros in that fateful year of 1989.
3-2. Ball 4. Bases loaded. 1 out. Bottom of the 9th. The Brewers are leading 12-10. Bases loaded. 1 out. And here's Tyler Houston. It was his home run in the bottom of the 8th inning that cut the gap to 2. Hours ago, and I mean hours ago, the Cubs led 2-0 in this game. 8 runs by Milwaukee in the 3rd seemingly blew it open. 2 more in the 5th made it a 10-2 game, and the Cubs have been battling back since. 1 ball, no strikes as Wickman has trouble with his location. Nowhere to put Tyler Houston. Everybody is up here at Wrigley Field. The winning run is at first. To the right side, past Pena. Sosa scores. Here comes Hill. The ball game is tied. Morandini the 3rd.
Tyler Houston has come off the bench to drive in 3 runs, and the Cubs come back from 8 runs down to tie it at 12 with runners still at the corners and only 1 out.
Phil Garner to the mound for a conference. Look at the Cubs dugout. Next year is finally now, perhaps, in Wrigleyville.
This one bouncing right off the glove of Vina as Tyler hits it in the hole. Vina's got a shot at it. It bounces off his glove and 2 runs score. And Orlando Merced will be the pinch hitter.
Drama continues at Wrigley Field. Boy, you see a game like this, the Cubs get a win on a day like today when they're getting charred by the Milwaukee offense. 8 runs in that third. Hart Grace pacing up and down. You wonder, when you see games like this, Steve, if there isn't something special. You can talk about the strengths and weaknesses of those contesting for the wild card till you're blue in the face as to who has the better pitching, who has the stronger offense. But in the end, maybe it's a certain special ingredient that will make the difference in this race. And if the Cubs win here today, boy, they will be displaying that kind of ingredient. Still 1 out. Game-winning run at 90 feet away. 1 ball, no strikes to count on Orlando Merced.
Infield in at all 4 positions. The outfield has to get to a point where they think that they can make a throw to the plate on a fly ball, but good speed at third and Mickey Morandini.
Fly ball, deep to right. It is gone. It is gone. The Cubs have won. Could not spend a more idyllic day at a ballpark than what we've done here today. From 8 runs down to winning in the bottom of the 9th on an Orlando Merced 3-run homer.
Cubs hit 6 home runs. Sammy hit his 60th, and the Cubs come from way back to win their biggest game of the year and put the pressure on the Mets up in Montreal as the Cubs put a W on the board, and it comes courtesy of Orlando Merced and a 3-run pinch home run. And take a look at the dugout and the reaction to the Orlando Merced bomb as they come screaming out onto the field. The Cubs win a huge game here today.
There is something special about this 1998 Chicago Cubs ball club. Most of this crowd of 39,000 plus is still here. They will not let go of the moment. We'll be back in a few moments.
Had a little disagreement with my friend Jim about Scotty.
16?
It's 17.
16.
He said 16, and he can prove it right now with 3-way calling from Ameritech. Right in the middle of our conversation, he goes click, dial, click, and I hear.
Scotty, would you mind telling me your shoe size?
My shoe size, 16.
So I say, no fair. He says, sure it is. Everybody's got 3-way calling on their line already. No, it is unfair that you are friends with Mr. 8-time All-Star.
Well, it's 6 then.
It's 8?
No, 6.
Nice. 8.
6.
8.
3-way calling from Ameritech. Just click, dial, click.
Well, my Discover card statement reads like a wish list.
What?
Toys. I like toys. I love pinball machines. This will improve my golf game. It is unbelievable to me how fortunate I've been in my life, and I can't ask for anything more. Discover card cashback bonus, no competition.
It pays to Discover. To apply, call 1-800-IT-PAYS-2. Accepted where you see the nervous sign.
Lighter yet stronger. More power from less space. More space from less size. A drag coefficient among the lowest in the world. There's more than a pattern emerging here. It's the world's first use of cyber synthesis, where vehicles are designed, built, and tested in the virtual world so they'll perform better in the real world. The new Durango and the new Intrepid. New vision from the new Dodge.
Budweiser play of the game, Sammy Sosa in the 7th. A historic moment here at Wrigley Field. Sosa with home run number 60. On to Waveland Avenue and beyond. That's our Budweiser play of the game. What is really important here today is the wild card standings, and the Cubs lead the Mets by a half game pending the outcome of the New York game at Montreal tonight. The Giants lost today. They're now 3.5 games behind. Take a look at the home run leaders and an exclusive club. McGuire, Maris, Sosa, and Ruth, all with 60 or more home runs in a single season. And the totals: Beck gets the win, Wickman the loss, Sosa's 60th homer, 12-16-0 for the Brew Crew, 15-18-1 for the victorious Chicago Cubs. Our next game is coming up tomorrow when Chip Caray returns to this chair as the leadoff man at 1 o'clock gets you into Cubs baseball for the Brewers and Cubs. And boy, this has been a wild series that has produced high scoring and great drama here at Wrigley Field, so don't miss anything. Boy, that is what happened on the Cubs bench as that ball by Orlando Merced sailed into the right field stands for the game-winning home run, posting the Cubs to their 15-12 come from behind victory. For Steve Stone, Arnie Harris, our entire crew at Wrigley Field, Wayne Larrabee, so long, everybody.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN. Brought to you by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Ameritech, in a world of technology, people make the difference. Pepsi, Generation Next. ComEd, the official electric company of the Chicago Cubs. ComEd, what do you do with your power? And by Southwest Airlines, offering low fares and frequent flights. Southwest Airlines, the official airline of the Chicago Cubs.
Friends, beginning September 21st at 6 and 10 on WGN.